begin. You don't need a lab coat, don't need a degree. Just a curious mind and a cup of coffee. Open up a blank page, type a simple line. Help me write a story, now you're co-designing time. It's not sci-fi, it's not far away. It's in your hands every single day. This is practical AI, simple and real. Turning just an idea into something you feel. From stuck in your head to something you share. One small step and it's suddenly there. No code, no pressure, just dive right in. This is practical AI. So let's begin. Need a better headline, need to clean your notes, summarize a meeting, or draft that post. It won't be perfect, but it'll get you close. Like a quiet collaborator who never says no. You steer the wheel, it helps you drive, It's not alive, but it amplifies. This is practical AI, simple and real. Turning just an idea into something you feel. From stuck in your head to something you share. One small step and it's suddenly there. No code, no pressure, just dive right in. This is practical AI. So let's begin. Ask better questions, get better replies. That's the secret no one really hides. Edit, refine, don't copy, paste blind. You're still the author, it's just your copilot mind. Start with one thing and keep it real simple. Write, test, tweak. That's the whole principle. This is practical AI, simple and real. Turning just an idea into something you feel. From stuck in your head to something you share. One small step and it's suddenly there. No code, no pressure, just dive right in. This is practical AI. So
Let's begin.
Woohoo!
Hey! Oops. Hello. The band just can't stop it, mate. This is so much fun. This is the 5th episode of Repurpose 3030, and we have learnt so much over the last 30 days that this is the recap, the last episode of 5. And just for fun, I thought I'd play that Practical AI song because I think it wraps up what we're trying to do. Like a lot of people can't get their head around AI because it seems pretty hard, but we are working the magic. And America, I want to start with you, mate. You created this graphic from a show we did yesterday, and a lot of people are having trouble repurposing content. But let's pull apart your strategy because you're doing it, and I think you're a bit of an inspiration here. Let's start.
Oh man, I'm an inspiration. I'm an inspiration to myself because I surprise myself by practicing, by doing it in real time, and not being afraid to be vulnerable. Hey, we're going to try stuff. And yesterday we had this discussion where Julian mentioned you're going to try stuff and it's going to fail more times than not. And I'm okay being in that space because once I put in the reps, I'm now in a position where I can tell people and recommend to people, not so much tell, I don't like how that sounded, but recommend, hey, I've tried this. It flatlined. We can try it again, maybe, and revive it. But here's what I know works and here's what I know doesn't work, especially in the 3 verticals that we hang out. We know that Substack is ideal for long form content. We know that LinkedIn is great for B2B and decision makers. They hang out there. And we know that YouTube is just this huge monster of a platform. And all three of them drive great ranking, SEO powers, AEO powers. And it's really about leveraging the three and the best things that each of those platforms provide.
And that's what
And
we
it's
talk about multi-purposing, isn't it? Or
that's what we
repurposing.
talk. Absolutely, absolutely. It's what multi-purposing is all about. It's not about recreating or coming up with new content for each platform or a different iteration. Take the same message, take the same narrative, and find a different way to make it make it fit for that particular platform. And that's what we're doing. I used to beat my head trying to come up with ideas, and I used to compete with myself. My live shows and my content strategy were two different entities. And it doesn't have to be. And anyone who's struggling and is overwhelmed with what am I going to write? What are people going to think? Believe me when I say this, whatever it is that you're going to write or whatever it is that you have to say, regardless of who shows up and who engages, your tribe will find you, whether it's live or whether it is a recorded video. And I'm now dabbling in video and starting to get some really good traction. So this is a great time to jump on board and come build something with us, because there is great mentorship, there's great leadership in these conversations. And we're here not to feed our own egos, but we're here because we genuinely enjoy helping other people.
We're here to. We are really quite literally here to serve, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Do you want to pick up on that, Christina? You've been part of this wonderful evolution. You've seen this show
a few weeks.
and in just a few weeks. Tell us your story. You've already got the
just
30.
a few weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first I want to say to Americo's comment, we rise by lifting others. I like to use the barrel of monkeys philosophy that no one gets out alone. No one gets out of this life by themselves. And when we are vulnerable and allow other people to speak into our lives, to rub up against us, to be in our space, life is so much better and so much worthwhile. So that was on your comment. It's good to see you tonight, sir.
Well, I think what we're doing here is a rising tide indeed does rise all boats, and
Yes.
it lifts all boats. And I think the idea here is that we know some things, and we love sharing. But guess what? When we share, other people come, and we learn from them. And there's two things I want to talk about today. One is we did a show in school. We didn't think anyone would come, and they did come. And the show went for 2 hours, and it was unbelievable. And that would have been it in the normal course of events. But we together, Americo and I, created 12 pieces of content from that. Do you want to just explain that process of repurposing, why it's important and how we do it?
Well, it wasn't just about the 12 pieces, because those 12 pieces, when you do the math, my goodness, it multiplies, I think, 2 or 3 times over. So I encourage everyone, listen, if you want to hang out with me, I'm going to do a lot of testing. I'm going to do a lot of soul searching, and I'm going to share my thoughts. I'm going to share what I'm learning with you. And somewhere along the line, if you decide, hey, you know what? I'd like for you to help me do this. That content that you got for free, you can run with it. And if you got the capacity and the bandwidth, you can do and follow what you've learned by experiencing and being part of what I've done. But with the repurposing, it kind of has the spillover effect. I've now done some research. I've now done or conducted a conversation. You and I were part of that conversation, and people are welcome to listen and learn from that conversation. But we then took that conversation and leaned into AI and say, hey, can you analyze this conversation for us and tell us what you see, or highlight the trending topics that we covered over this 2-hour period? Because you and I, as much as we may have wanted to, I don't think we could have done as good of a job taking down notes on things that we wanted to come back to. AI does that for us. Here's what happened over the 2-hour period. Here's what you covered. And here's 12 emerging subject matters, or matters that you can now either put out in short form, long form, video form. So
Yeah.
those were 12 themes. But those 12 themes found its way into long format, found its way into video, found its way into different platforms. So if you look at the number of platforms you're redistributing it to, the different formats and medium that you're distributing that message, these were 12 trending topics, but over 3 platforms instantly, 24, 36, and hey, 36 pieces of content over 3 platforms without having to lift an eyebrow or break a sweat.
Once you get a rhythm, it's pretty easy. I want to share a bit about what happened there. So we did a show on school. We'll talk about school in a minute. And that's Americo's community platform. It was very cool. And we just assumed, because it was a bit of impromptu, that it was just going to be a bit of a chat and we would repurpose it later. Hello, Melissa. Jump in if you want to speak. I'll send you the link. But what happened was this very, very cool person came on talking about the fear of going on stage and going on camera. And that was a cool conversation, the fear of going on camera. And I said to her, what about not going on camera? Why don't we just allow people to not go on camera? Why do we have to force people to go on camera if they don't want to? She goes, well, geez, that's a good angle. So that was a major theme, maybe 20 minutes. And I wrote a blog post about that and it's had 400 views. Right. So there's a good example from a show we did on school impromptu, just because we wanted to. I then did an article that had 400 views. I mean, can you believe it? And it's just amazing.
And there goes an additional layer of content. So 12 ideas that I repurposed across 3 different platforms. And then there's that user-generated content that you, as my guest, leaned into the conversation and redistributed it to your community. So now we're getting added reach, added visibility across your community, across your network. So it's tenfold. And that's why I recommend everyone double down on live events. Have that conversation. If one person shows up, you're going to learn something from that one person. And if you impact or influence or teach them something, they will turn around and tell others.
Yeah, because they're involved. They're in it. And what happened yesterday with Justin's just amazing. Do you want to pick up on? Do you want to explain what happened to you yesterday, Julian? This was such an amazing story that we need to rebuild it. What do you think? How did you respond to yesterday?
Yesterday was, well, I think, it was very insightful and useful. First of all, I mean, it was so spontaneous and off the cuff. Here you were. I happened to just be going on to LinkedIn for completely other purposes. There you were having your LinkedIn Live. I thought I'd come in and say hello. And then you quickly sent me the link, and there we were. Next thing I knew, 3 hours later, we were talking way into the evening, and with some follow-up. So I'm not going to lie. I felt like I woke up this morning feeling as though I'd, had a night of drinking, and I don't really do that. And we weren't, but it was fun and huge amounts of insights, because we really covered a lot of territory there. We talked a lot about AI, and that's obviously a subject that I'm very interested in. We talked a lot about audio, and that's also a subject I'm very interested in. And you got me on to Substack today, and building a bunch of tools, in fact, based on that conversation. So you showed me a SEO tool that you use, and then we talked about, oh well, there should be an AEO tool that kind of does that, and I managed to pound that out today. So it's been productive and insightful, and yeah, I'm looking forward to today's conversation.
And let's pick up on what happened there. We had a conversation about a topic. It inspired you to act. So you now, as part of your repertoire, have an AEO tool, right? Well, you might have spontaneously thought of that on your own, but because of the power of the group, you now have a tool where if you punch in the URL, it'll give you a score out of 100 based on AEO in the world. Have you tried this, Americo? It only came out today.
I did try it, and not the best score, but a fantastic tool, and it tells me exactly where I need to focus on. It's similar recommendations that Savannah Bay was offering. Not all interviews, or sometimes in this particular case, today's Substack didn't include a Q&A, wasn't answering questions, which I know is how AO search is positioned. It's positioned to answer questions, but not everything is going to answer a question. Sometimes it's just storytelling or social selling, and you're not answering questions. You're just sharing part of your legacy and part of your journey with others, which is what this particular article was. But I love how this inspiration was sparked from a conversation that we had just yesterday. And Julian didn't sit and wait. He took action.
Yeah. And by the way, like the fact that the two of you have now gone in and tested it, that gives me some feedback. That gets some immediate testing that actually otherwise I wasn't getting with other tools that I've been posting on LinkedIn and so on. So this has been eye-opening for sure. And as far as community building and what you guys are working on, I quite like it, and I'm all on board.
Yeah, and look at the thing that I want to pick up on this. I love when this really takes off. We get this Brady Bunch look. It's very cool. We can actually have up to 8, up to 10 people on Restream at one time. And the visual component of this is so striking that it's worth watching just for the visuals. Right. And I can add, and it's very dynamic. I can add a scene and say, look, if you want, you can listen to it on YouTube. And here's the link, Keith Keller TV. If you've got any questions, just put them in the comments. And there's the comment. So, you can actually have these sort of moments in time that aid the conversation. So not only are we talking and having fun, there's an image that supports that. And I think this is a very unique format that I'm so interested in. And Julian, I want you to meet my friend Christina. She lives in Philadelphia, so she's in the same time zone as you, just a little bit underneath. Have to cross the border there. But do you want to tell us a bit about what you do, Christina, and introduce yourself to Julian, who lives in Ontario?
Oh, hello, Julian. Nice to meet you. I am about a month on Substack, and I'm loving it. For me, it's very therapeutic, and I am reaching out to my demographic, which is women over 50 who are going through a gray divorce or different transitions in that season of life. And so I started out where I'm just kind of telling my story, and the big thing that happened in my life that kind of brought me to where I am today. And so it's been really amazing to see. I do it on Substack, and then I post it also on Facebook and Instagram. And on Facebook, I've had a whole slew of my high school friends reach out about the one post that I made was on an accident I was in when I was 17 years old, nearly fatal. You'll have to go read it. I just destroyed my body and died 3 times. It was amazing. Live to tell about it. So, but these students that were in my life when I went through this are now in almost 60, will be 60 next year. And they were commenting on, oh my gosh, Christina, I'm so sorry. You probably could never forgive me because I wasn't there for you the way that I should have been. But it was just such a hard thing for me to walk through. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is a different perspective on the whole thing that I went through. You know, it was amazing, and it reconnected us. And so I've had several of those happen. And then on Substack, I am so excited about this one. There's one in particular woman who is connected to me on Substack, and she's a very mature woman, and she has confided in me some things about her life that I've spoken to in some of my articles. And she messages me directly after every article, and she tells me what it's done in her, how it's affected her life. And you know what? If that's the only thing that I get out of it, I'm going to keep doing it, because I'm there. I'm not there for all the likes and the views and the subscriptions. I'm there to build community. And that's what I'm doing. And it is so exciting. Another side note.
Yeah.
What? Go
No,
ahead.
I think it's important. I think we can get wrapped up in the stats, and we can get sort of thinking that the numbers are the all important thing. But really, at the end of the day, we want to talk to real people, make new friends. Like I want to tell this story, and I'm going to throw to America on this. Julian, who I've known since 2019, lives 1 hour from America. 1 hour. Now, it's not inconceivable that either of them could go to each other's zones, have a coffee, and do a catch up, or maybe make a bit of content. And that's already in the works. Now, Americo didn't know that Julian existed. Julian has never heard of Americo. Even if he went to Toronto, he wouldn't know where to look. So this random guy on the other side of the world doing a radio show in the back of his house has put people together who live in the same town, who may collaborate.
Out of my igloo.
Don't you think that's right? You know, what do you think of that, Julian? Don't you think that's just an amazing idea, that the globality of, I just made that word up, but you know, the idea that someone randomly on the other side of the world can connect someone who lives near you. It's a miracle. I can't wait.
I know
to see what
all of
happens
these
here.
years roaming around with my huskies. You know, I come out of my igloo, I'd roam around with my huskies, find nobody. And now it turns out all I have to do is hook up to the igloo, and we're good to go. So this is fantastic. I love it.
That's
Pick up on that, Americo. How hard would it be for you to jump in the car and get down to Coburg?
You know, if understanding how long your shows could go, I could get to Coburg, sit at the same table, and continue this conversation.
Valid point.
Isn't that true?
Absolutely.
You know,
right. 3 hours.
isn't
and
that
we're there.
true?
No, not even. We're there in an hour.
You know, it's
Everything's
because
an hour away from Toronto, really.
With the exception of driving through Toronto, that takes 2 hours.
Yeah, driving through traffic, and
Exactly.
but the point is that
exactly
we can live in isolation, and that sometimes bothers me a bit. But we also know that the world is there for us. So, you know, I live in Melbourne, Australia. I live an hour from the city. I don't really like to go to the city. There's a lot of people there. The Socceroos are playing on Saturday, 4:00. I mean, I'm not going. The whole city will just be full of people in yellow and green shirts, singing songs and drinking beer at 4 a.m. I don't want to go. Right? I just want to sleep in and have my little life in the house. But we have these fantastic conversations with people all over the world. We've got people listening in the back channel from Kingston, Ontario, LA. We often get people listening in from New Zealand. We have a lot of Canadians listening. We often get people listening in the 50 states of the US, and there's only 13 to go to get my whole map going. So if you're in Alaska, or if you're in Nebraska, or you're in South and North Dakota, Mississippi, please contact me. I'm trying to fill the map with orange paint. And we have these great conversations that are geographically irrelevant. I just made up a new phrase. Can we make a song out of that? Geographically irrelevant. That's going to be a very difficult song to rhyme with. Geographically irrelevant. I might
It's like
as well
an
be riding an elephant. But that's it. Geography doesn't stop us anymore. We can learn from each other and have great fun while we're doing it. It's a different learning style, isn't it?
Let's pick up on the learning piece. Yesterday, after we came off the air, you had asked the question around the transcript, and I'm all up for repurposing now. I'm just stoked with how far we can repurpose and redistribute our messages. So you and I had this conversation around the transcript. I jumped on my computer and started putting together a video, a step-by-step instruction guide for anyone who's gone live on Substack. How do you retrieve your transcript? It's a 3-minute video. I put some music as an intro and an outro and compress it into a 3-minute step-by-step instruction. I then uploaded that to YouTube. I redistributed it on Substack, and people started engaging. It's like, oh my goodness, this is fabulous. Here's what else I would love to see. And people started recommending, hey, could you do the same for LinkedIn? Hey, could you do? Yep. And all of a sudden, like, I have, what was evergreen content is now coming to life. Other people are just adding to that pile of evergreen content with ideas, suggestions, and recommendations.
When you've got a sort of a creator heart, when you've got a servant leader mindset, you will attract really cool people, because people who help want to help, right? And we just hang out with each other, like we just love that energy. And so you did that, pretty spontaneously. I then created that transcript, sent it to you, which had about 8, and then you wrote a blog post about it, created a piece on, I'm guessing you're using Canva. Can you tell us a bit of how you're doing these thumbnails? They're so good. Like, how are you doing these thumbnails?
So I discovered, and I don't know how long it's been there or whether or not it's new, the thumbnail in today's post, today's Substack, that was ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yeah. However, there is a AI thumbnail creation tool embedded in YouTube. So I can go into one of the live streams that I have in my library and click the AI suggestion, and it will generate 2, sometimes 3 thumbnails, because it will analyze the transcript, analyze your video, and generate something that is suiting. So I'm now on this repurposing bandwagon, because I'm going into my library from a year ago. It's like, all right, let's try to revive this piece of content. Let's create a new thumbnail, and let's regenerate a new. Now that I've learned that YouTube can now analyze the conversation, I ask its AI to recommend, hey, can you recommend a description for this video? And it'll give me a recommendation. So now I'm monitoring how that's reacting, if whether or not I need to jump in and give it my own brand voice, or if it will take off and gain some form of traction simply by leveraging YouTube's AI tools.
That's awesome.
Do you want to jump in on this?
I have some questions,
Julian. Please.
Yeah, I do. I want to ask a few questions, because similarly, so, just like I was sort of inspired for the audit tool, I was inspired for another module, which I haven't started to build. and in fact would love your input on, and whether we could even start to go through that here or whether we do that offline. But what became very clear from that conversation yesterday was that there is this need for content creators, especially content creators who are doing long form content like this, to be able to have that sort of whole media file in front of them, have the whole transcript in front of them, to easily generate little clips and little thumbnails that go along with that. And so it started to occur to me that that is a tool that needs to be built. I think the sort of the steps, I do this, I do that, then I do this. That's something that I think I'm starting to understand is there's probably a huge need for, and I'm probably myself going to start meeting that as I start to do sort of similar type of content and coding online.
Yeah, definitely something we can either start discussing here or take offline, because you're absolutely right. There's so many people who want to do something, want to manifest this idea that they know there's such a need for, and they just don't know where to begin. It's not a matter of envisioning. They've been able to envision what they want, they just can't piece it together. And some of it is tech that's holding them back. Others, they just need someone to tell them, it's like, all right, stop overthinking this and just cross that threshold, start building in real time. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like if I point people to my videos from a year ago, go take a look at where I started not too long ago. I had a job seeker persona and mindset just over 12 months ago, and maybe 2 years ago. And I tried to juggle both a job seeker persona and a business owner mindset and try to have both personas coexist in the same space. And there was a push and pull type of effect. It's like, all right, I got to decide, am I looking to get back into the workforce after being laid off 3 times, or am I in a good place where I can now help others build their dream and get their visibility and get their stage built so that they can rise and they can shine? And that's the decision I ended up with. It wasn't perfect. If I were to wait for a polished product and an offer, I probably still wouldn't have kicked off half of what I've already kicked off. It's got to be done in real time. And I want people to understand that it's okay to do this in real time. And it's okay to fall flat on your face. And in fact, it's encouraged that you fall flat on your face as quickly and as often as possible, because you're going to keep learning every time that happens. And people are going to appreciate that you are okay with being vulnerable and letting others experience what you're building in public.
Let's pick up on this, Americo, and I'll bring a Melissa in on this too. Julian said a very interesting, very poignant, quite insightful thing yesterday. And he said, look, a lot of these conversations take about half an hour to unwind, like to juice up. Because people say, mate, how do you go so long? Why don't you just do 10 minutes? Well, I wouldn't do this show for 10 minutes because it takes me half an hour to warm up. And we went for 3 hours, but the really good stuff is about 90 minutes in, because we're all in the zone. There's no distractions. We get it. We're sort of comfortable. We're in the chair. We're in the zone. You just don't wake up perfect. You don't just push a button and go, hey, guess what? I'm here and I'm just juiced up to go. Some people might, and there's tablets for that. But, I don't. I warm up. And I think that's why this long form content and this live content has so much value. Do you want to pick up on this, Melissa, in Kingston, Ontario? A couple of questions. Are you far from Coburg, and are you far from Toronto? We got you there, Melissa? Have you got your mic on? Let's just see if you've got a mic. Have you got your mic on? I don't know. Doesn't look like your mic's working. We'll brainstorm that in a minute. There we go. I can hear a noise. We have liftoff.
Oh,
no, that's not it.
Well, that was me, maybe.
Well, you
But
jump.
while we wait for her to come or get her mic set up, I will jump in and I'll just sort of mirror back a bit about what both of you were saying. When it content that people consume, what makes, first of all, people have always loved live content, live TV, and what's really entertaining about it when you think Saturday Night Live. In some ways, the fact that it's live, the fact that you're vulnerable, the fact that mistakes happen, in some ways, those are people's favorite moments, right? When people fall out of character and laugh, and so that's to America's point about that it's okay to fall flat on your face. In some ways, there's a perfectly polished content versus a content with some mistakes in it. From an entertainment value, from an entertainment perspective, they're not the same thing. So I think that's a very valid point. And as you're pointing out, Keith, it takes a little while for people to get warmed up, to get into the zone, for people to get their mics hooked up, for example, right? You run into technical problems, especially like with something like this online. So I agree with both of you that the long form allows for those mistakes, allows for those and then those surprise moments. And yeah, maybe they're a genuine mistake and it doesn't make it into the reel at the end. Maybe it makes it in the blooper reel, and that's one of the things that generates the most views of all. So you just never know. I think you're both right that you just do it, and it's amazing how quickly content accumulates, isn't it?
Yeah, well, what I've done, and I want to pick up on how others are doing this, and please keep trying, Melissa, to get back on. I think you might be having trouble with your mic. What I do as a favor to my community, a lot of people say, mate, I can't come tonight and I'm not going to listen to a 4-hour replay. I get it. You can't make it tonight. My show is between 8 and midnight Eastern time. Maybe you're at the pub. Maybe you're at the game. Maybe you're at the beach. I get it. You're living life. But I'm not going to edit the videos down because I don't have the time. So what I do is I write these articles, right? And talking about accumulation, I started Substack on September 1st and I've already got 118 articles because I just do so many shows and there's so much to talk about that I found that's my flow. I do the show. I love doing the show. You're welcome to join. You're welcome to come live, but I'm not editing it for you. I just don't want to. That's not my rhythm. But I will create a blog post, and the blog post, maybe 500 words of the essence of what we talked about. And I think that is just a magnificent example of what we can do. But what does everyone else do? America, you do lots of shows. What's your favorite format for repurposing personally, and what works best sort of numerically?
So in terms of editing, my shows you will find unedited on demand on YouTube. And what I do as a form of repurposing, if there's a technical issue, if something happens, it then becomes a piece of content, a learning moment for those in the community and others who I might be working with. Hey, this is going to happen. You're going to practice, you're going to rehearse, you're going to have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted, and you're going to hit that go live button, and those tech gremlins are going to find you. And something's going to react, not respond, not work. The question isn't, is that show a failure? The question is, how do you respond? How do you keep your audience engaged? How do you keep people from abandoning the live? So I turn that into some form of content. Here's what happens even at the best of times. And here's how to overcome it. Here's how to address it. Here's how to talk your way through it. So, and if you want an example of it, go listen to this replay where this exact thing happened.
Yep.
Right. And then there's making use of the resources and the conversation. I'll then use and lean into Substack and LinkedIn articles and write long form content. Then I will snip it into short clips. I know you have an opinion of the 10-second clips, but mine will range from 10 seconds all the way to a minute and a bit. Like yesterday's or today's video was a 3-minute video. Yeah. Does it fit and conform to the platforms? And Probably not. They like that 60, that sweet spot might be 45 seconds to a minute 20. But I put it out as 3 minutes. It's a lesson. It's going to bring value to someone. And I'm not going to chop it into 10 seconds. Hey, here's 10 seconds of a 3-minute video. I'm just going to put it out as a 3-minute video. But these are real life examples as to how to break up a message. That 3-minute video stemmed from yesterday's conversation. So once you're in that creative mindset, you're going to see things just float to the top like a pint of Guinness. You're going to see that cream float to the top.
Ah, wow.
All right.
That's a good reference point.
And you're going to start seeing and appreciating opportunities that perhaps were staring you right in the face, and you did nothing with it because you were so consumed about, what am I going to talk about next? What am I going to write that will draw impressions, likes, engagement? Throw that out the window. Just know that the value you bring will find the audience, and stop worrying about 20,000 impressions, because, depending on the platform, an impression is 0.3 of a second. That's a thumb scroll up a mobile device.
Yep.
That's not
Not
enough.
I totally agree. I just love this discussion. Julian, Melissa is having a lot of problems with internet, especially getting her mic to work. Have you noticed in rural Ontario, she's in Kingston, have you noticed in rural Ontario that internet can be a bit patchy? Have you got any suggestions as to how America?
It's certain. Yeah, it actually really is. It depends and variable. So, as far as mobile cellular connection around where I live, for example, it's very, very patchy. People have trouble getting any connection to any kind of internet if they're driving through the area. Now, what's very interesting is that this entire area, even though I'm surrounded by farms, actually had a fiber optic cable put in, and that was ready to go right around the time that I moved in, roughly 2 years ago. And that is faster than what, in many cases, what you could get available right living in Toronto in some cases. It's been working really well for me. In fact, I've got a sort of a 1 acre period with some boosters. So basically anywhere on the property with the Wi-Fi and that connection, I end up doing pretty well where I am out in rural Canada. That said, infrastructure in Canada is maybe not what it is in the United States. Not as many options, maybe. There's certainly a few carriers that kind of dominate the market. That much is for sure. But Canadians get pretty decent internet connection, I think.
Okay. Well, from what I can tell, Melissa, your mic is not connected. Everyone else is getting a very strong signal, totally separate to the internet, but I'm not getting a signal from your mic. My gut feeling is you're either muted or your mic's not plugged in, or Restream does not like Canadian internet. I just don't know. It's a thing. I can tell you for sure it's a thing. When Canadians ring in, they sound like the Daleks. And I don't know what it is. America, what do you think, America? We have continuous trouble with Canadians on this show.
Yeah, I wish I had a technical answer for you, because my internet provider hasn't changed. I did, upgrade with a little bit of a boost. My old device was patchy at one point. So sometimes it's not just the bandwidth you're dealing with. It could be your device that is just stressed and at end of life. I'm surprised how short of a shelf life computers have. You upgraded yours not too long ago, and it wasn't that old.
Yeah, 7 years. I nearly had to chuck it out, but I worked out that I could get it working. What I'm going to suggest for anyone who wants to come on the show, and we can have up to 8 people, you need at least 10 megabytes a second on your internet But my gut feeling is, in this instance, it's not the internet. So we'll just keep going. I don't want to. This is, as I said, Julian, this is exactly why I do a sound check. Yeah, exactly why. Because this is the proper show. We don't want to be stuffing around with internet problems on the proper show, right? But people can't.
No. But these things, this happens for real radio too. By the way, right? All the time. There's a rural station out here, rock station. They've got a fantastic signal. But every now and then I'll be driving. All of a sudden, their signal will get crossed, and you'll hear like a little chatter in the background or something like that, right? You'll get like some other station maybe for just a little microsecond. Or usually, like I said, it's them having a conversation in the background, and somehow they pressed a wrong button, and it's all of a sudden it's interrupting the music and so on, and then it goes away. So these things happen just about everywhere. We have to keep in mind, there's another way to look at this, right? You're hosting this in Australia. The way I like to look at it is that I am not only participating in a podcast, but I am participating in a podcast in the future.
Yeah. Do you want the Tesla numbers? I'm getting pretty good at that. I check them every morning. You want them? It's $10 fee. So there was a guy in Thailand. This is a really funny story on this. There was a guy in Thailand that used ChatGPT to get the Tesla numbers. And he said, okay, there's 40 numbers in Tesla. What are the most common 10 numbers that come up very irregularly, very regularly, unusually, He says, oh, well, if you're going to, Tesla has been going for 50 years. The number 52, the number 38, the number 28, the number 18, and Powerball, it choose 1 and 7. Right, and he made $500,000. And he tried it a second time. He went to jail. So, you can use AI for bloody anything, can't you? I wish I could do it. I wouldn't mind $500,000 if anyone wants to throw it my way. Let's just use ChatGPT for that. But you're right. We're in the future. It's now 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, and it's still Tuesday night in Ontario. Yeah, and Philadelphia. So don't worry, Melissa. Just put your comments in either LinkedIn or YouTube, and I can put them on the screen. This is amazing synergy, Julian, because Melissa worked in radio in Toronto. She may have even worked at the stations you listened to when you were there. Tell us what stations you did listen to when you were there, Melissa. And one of the things that's very interesting, no one knows this until you're doing your own show. I'm talking to 4 people live online. I've got comments in the back channel. I'm talking to people on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Substack trying to get their links working. And I'm trying to brainstorm why Melissa can't talk. My brain is about 4 times bigger than it should be, and it bloody hurts. It's a thing. It's bloody hard to do. So, let's go easy on ourselves. But, Melissa's having a bit of trouble. If you can get 5 or 10 megabytes a second, you should be able to get this working. But let's pick up on this idea of repurposing. I really, really think this is the essence of what this show's about. We have so many examples of when we've done this great content, just so great, and then we never do it. We never get round to doing anything with it. Life gets in the way, the tap breaks, the car breaks down, you get a flat tire, the kids are sick. You never get around to doing it. We have to brainstorm very simple systems for this so you can do it when the energy is strong. And Julian, do you want to pick up on some of those systems? How do you think what you do could pick up on this desperate need for repurposing?
It's a fantastic question, because if you 3 years ago, if you had come to me or to come to my agency and said, this is what I'm looking to do, anything would have been, any platform would have, right? It really depended on what your objectives were. So maybe WordPress was right for you. Maybe Shopify was right for you. Maybe Kajabi, if it was more, and then there's Udemy and all these other platforms that are, fantastic for hosting content, building websites. And then there's, on top of that, there's all of these like extensions that go on top of that, right? So, it's WordPress with this plugin, that, and you're good to go. Or maybe it's a custom build. Where I've come in a very, very short time, and this is very much a byproduct of AI itself, and then the gas that AI threw on my Studio J project, which probably, to be honest, had it not been for AI, I probably would have stayed in the garbage bin or in development forever. But it's changed everything such that for me personally now, it's not so much that I won't use any other platform, but everything I do now is a custom build on the Studio J sort of platform, the the back end engine behind everything. And I build it for that. And today, our conversation about Substack is a good example where it was like, yeah, you know what? I've been meaning to use Substack. And so it doesn't mean that I'm shifting over. Again, that's a good example of an external platform that benefits to it. And so then it becomes a matter of okay, what module or what tools will work with Substack so that I'm efficient in managing Substack as one of the sources for my content, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I want to pick up on what we talked about yesterday. You talked about coding in public. And let me preface this. Substack has 50 million users and 80 million visitors a month. Right? 50 million users, 80 million visitors. When you build your own stuff, how do you get an audience? How do people find you? I mean, how do you tell people what you're doing? There's no audience. You've got to do it from scratch. This is always the reason why I've never built my own stuff. Why I love to hang out with, like, LinkedIn has 1.2 billion users. Like, it's a purpose-built audience. And people are listening to this show live on YouTube, Substack, and LinkedIn. It's built in. How would I do it otherwise? Have you ever addressed that question of audience versus functions? What do you think, Julian?
Yeah, well, hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Sorry. My mic. There it is. There's my mic is back on. Okay. Yeah. So that's an interesting question. So, audience is. I think you're right that there's no, in terms of building an audience, there's no real good reason to reinvent the wheel. In other words, I am not trying to invent my own social media platform, my own LinkedIn, my own Reddit, my own Substack. Ultimately, I think everybody is on some level or other, wanting to attract their people, their audience, their either, whether that be buyers or listeners or subscribers, whatever that is, sort of into their universe, into their world. And so for me, in the same way that one might manage a blog with WordPress or a Shopify store through Shopify, Studio J and that platform and how I'm building, right, is one with the idea that I'm managing my business and my website through my website through a back end, and then, as I was sort of explaining yesterday, Studio, it's very much like those platforms, and it's very sort of odd and unique. And I think it's only in this day and age one individual could build their own platform that competes with WordPress or Shopify or Wix out of a barn. But that is what I've done. The reason why is because it then makes everything from there on much easier. So exactly this, that, 2 days ago, I didn't know that I was necessarily going to want to spend a lot of time doing some work on Substack. Now I say, okay, I do. And so what are the tools that I need for that? And so what Studio J does is that instead of like a plugin library, which is what you have for sites like WordPress or Shopify that are pre-existing that you usually have to pay for, the difference is that I say, oh, I want something that works like MailChimp, or I want something that works like Calendar. And the system works so that I just tell Claude that basically says, oh, okay, I know what you want. I know what your rules are for Studio J. Here's your zip module. And it gives me one zip file. Now that has a bunch of files in it. But I just take that into my zip installer and start using it and testing it. So I suspect that my coding, my sort of from ideation to testing, is probably faster than a lot of people at the moment. And that's because I spent a lot of time building a system that deals with that sort of upfront and makes it so that I can really prompt out the objectives and not worry about the architecture as much.
Yeah. Do you want to jump in on this, Christine? I know you got to go. And I know you got to go soon. Do you want to pick up on this idea of Claude and AI? I got to be honest, I didn't understand most of what you were talking about there, Julia. I got to be honest, you lost me at in the barn. You lost me around about where you were talking about building in the barn. I just my brain turned off. So and I can't be the only one thinking like this. Like I'm guessing most people think, what are you talking about? I mean, if you sound like you know what you're talking about, so why can't you just do it for me? Come on, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I can't do it myself. But what do you think, Christina? Was there anything there that piqued your interest, and would you like to know a little bit more? Because I know you got to go.
Well, I'm always looking for new ways to do things or learning about things that I've never, taken off in. But so for me right now, the big thing that I want to do, I want to go live. I guess I just need to take that jump and do it. And I see I'm a very authentic person. And so live is just being you on the camera, with the on air going, So
I'll tell you what we'll do. I mean, in July, I'm doing a show about this. Substack has a very basic but very easy live streaming feature. It's on and it's off. There's nothing you can do. You can't add images. You can't add music. You can have 2 people on maximum of 3 people total. I'll show you how that looks. I'll do one with you. Right, I'll show you how to do it. Right. It's very easy to use.
Oh, that's fun. Okay. That'd be great. Thanks.
And then once you've done it, you'll realize, geez, this is a bit slack. There's nothing much to it. And that's why I use Restream. I personally don't like the Substack live streaming feature. It's just too boring for me. It's just there's nothing to do. You can't play music. You can't have images. You can have 2 people maximum. And then you've got people telling you, mate, I want to come on. Well, then you've got to ask someone to go. Hey, you've had your turn. Ding.
You're out.
And now on to our next guest. You've got to push someone off the stage. You've got to push them off. Right. So I don't want to do that. So I personally don't like Substack Studio, the live streaming version, but it's very easy to use.
Then why do you want me to use it if you don't like it?
Because it's easy.
It's easy.
It's got an easy entry point.
Yeah, Restream is quite difficult to use. Like it's not impossible to use, but it's quite difficult to use. And it's not impossible, but there's only one of me, and I sometimes get a bit overwhelmed. Hello, Faith. Faith is a Melburnian, relatively, moved here recently, and she. How can you Restream with Substack? The reverse is the case. How can you use Restream to go to Substack? You can't Restream with Substack. You can't. That's actually the main reason I don't like it. You can't Restream with Substack. Am I correct, Americo? I'm correct, don't I? You can't Restream with Substack.
Right. You can push your live stream to Substack from Restream, but you can't do it the other way around.
Yeah, you can't do the other way around. So I'll just briefly talk about this. So Substack has a free service that allows you to either pre-record with up to 2 other guests or go live with up to 2 other guests, but you can't have images and you can't have music, which are the 2 things that I do most on this show. And Substack works with Substack, and never the twain shall meet. doesn't work with anything else. But Restream works with about 30 other providers, and I'm sure they're adding more. So I send this file to LinkedIn, to YouTube, and to Substack. When we did a show with Bez on Monday, he sent it to Twitch and to Facebook, right? And the list goes on. Whatever site you've got, chances are that Restream will find a way to use it. Restream is a game changer for me. I love it. It's $30 a month, and I love it. But Julian, there's a good lead for you. Could you build a Restream for nothing? I'm guessing you couldn't. It'd be bloody hard, wouldn't it?
Well, essentially, wouldn't he be building an RTMP feed?
Yeah, what do you think, Julian? Could you build a live streamer that sends your file to 30 places? I mean, how hard would that be?
That would be exceptionally hard, actually. And there is no real particular merit, I would say, in trying to build the sort of broadcasting tool, because you're going to need a very sort of powerful engine on your server side there, on your side, exactly as you're pointing out. Platforms like Restream, what's the one with the duck? StreamYard, right? StreamYard, right. So StreamYard's another example. Those are both sort of in the same category, what we're talking about. So I would say using this, exactly that, they are fantastic. They've already got the infrastructure in terms of plugging into this. That's what their purpose is they are like a broadcasting station that broadcasts to multiple channels at the same time. And the engine behind that, the video streaming engine behind that, yeah, you don't want to be building that kind of infrastructure on your own. That certainly is sort of at the layer where I tend to avoid. I build tools that maybe help me interact with those tools better, plan my content better. Virtual CMOs, CFOs, CTOs, CROs, things like that.
Yeah, well, let's pick up on this, Melissa. If you can't get your mic working, I might drop you off so we can allow some other people up on stage. I'm sorry about that. We'll keep going, trying to get you going, but I'll just keep this moving a bit. So Restream, it's a fee for service, but it's worth it. Like, so with the free version of Restream, you can send the file to 2 places. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, I think Twitch, Instagram, maybe. The basic ones, the main ones, the top 5. And if you want to go to 3 channels, you pay $19 a month. This is US dollars, and $49 a month. You can have up to 5. Now, why that's powerful is that I do one show, and it goes to 3 places at once. No, that is just genius. Who would have thought? I mean, had we say, for instance, in 2019, Julian, I had said to you, guess what? I'm going to see you in the future in 9 years, and I'm going to do a show to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and this new one called Substack. And you go, oh yeah, well, go for it. You wouldn't have believed it, would you? Or was it already possible then?
That's a good question. I might have believed it. I might have believed it, actually. And we were talking about this with Bez yesterday, right? About how when it comes to networking, when it comes to these efforts, you don't really necessarily know where those opportunities are going to come from. So on one hand, the fact that you and I had connected, had some great conversations, that one thing had led to another at the time, and the fact that we met through I think it was through the Global Digital Marketing Summit, but then leading into that or after that, I was on your show, you were on my show. So would it surprise me that you would still be doing this? No, not at all, because you're a natural. You're a natural host. You're a natural hype man. You were born for this. You have a sort of a childlike enthusiasm about all of these subjects that I think is contagious. So I think you were meant to be doing this. So it does not surprise me at all in some ways. That said, could I have predicted the exact circumstances and that AI would have been involved and that we would have been on Substack and all of these kinds of conversations, and that I would also be meeting Americo through this process? No, none of that. The fine details I certainly could not have predicted.
Well, let me pick up on this. There's a phrase that I use. This is actually fundamentally why I do this show. Like, it's one of the main benefits to me personally. I have this phrase I use called the Keithy. Right? It's not me because I'm not in it, but two people that didn't know each other meet on my show and then meet in person and hold up a sign going, "Hi, Keith, we did it. Hello, Keith. Hi, Keith. This is a Keithy." And look, this has happened in Argentina. This has happened in Toronto. This has happened in Campbell River, BC. This mate of mine who lives in Campbell River says, "I knew Keith before he was famous." So, you know, all these people all over the world are sending me posters saying, "Mate, we did it. I met up with that mate of mine that you met, and he's pretty cool, and I wouldn't mind doing that again." So I can see a Keithy coming on here, Americo. And we've talked about this a lot, and we've talked about your road trip a lot. And I reckon we're just about ready to activate it, aren't we?
I think we are ready to get the show back on the road.
So there's two. It's a two-way flow. Julian could come to Toronto. So where could you meet? Let's have a bit of a chat about that. And you could go to Coburg, which would be I've had a look. It's a pretty cool town. Like, it's a pretty cutesy town. I would love to see some pictures from that town. So you could do either, or you could do both. And then you could just hold up a sign at the cave going, "Hey, Keith, we did it. Look at this. This is the real world internet in action." This random guy on the other side of the world with that speaks funny has got us together. And you didn't even know him before Monday, did you?
No, we didn't know each other.
But I'm game. I'm game.
Yeah. So let's brainstorm this and get it together. What is the natural landmark in Toronto that everyone meets at that we could have fun with? Lawrence Market, maybe, or the university?
I would avoid a meetup in Toronto. If you're coming to Toronto, by all means, we can make it happen. But a purpose-driven destination as Toronto, I would say I'd much rather hop on the 401 and drive away from Toronto to meet anyone. So we can do.
Well, yeah, you are more than welcome. And there's, you know, I think I have the set location in mind, but you can certainly have a look around the property and let me know if you have a preference. So you're certainly welcome to do that. I'm in Toronto on a fairly regular basis, almost on a weekly basis, to be honest. I wish I wasn't. I wish I didn't have to. And I can tell you this too. One thing that I like to do is I take the GO to Oshawa. I park my car there. I've had a lot of people come and visit where I just go, I say, yeah, skip the traffic, get on the GO. I'll pick you up in Oshawa. It's about another 45 minutes from there.
Is that a local term for the freeway you have there, the GO?
The GO is actually
the GO is the.
Go ahead.
It's a train that actually is reasonably priced, reasonably reliable, reasonably clean.
I love this because and let's pick up on this. Julian and I know each other from a gig we did in 2019. It was in Jamaica. I didn't go. Julian did go. And you love the in-person stuff. It makes it worth the travel. So a trip on the train is nothing. I mean, an hour on the train to meet real people, that's very doable, isn't it?
Hey, Julian, if you go to Jamaica again, I'm there.
Yeah. It was at least I did have the expenses paid, and that was nice. Now, that was very interesting. By the way, I don't know if you remember this, Keith. So my speaker's fee, I did get stiffed on. At this point in time, that was so long ago. It's water under the bridge. I'm not so worried about it. And to be honest, I'm actually still grateful for the whole trip and the experience. Fantastic. But in that case, so the event was in Kingston, Jamaica. And
Can you believe it?
I have
Kingston,
to say
Jamaica,
that as far as-
Melissa. Not
I
Kingston,
have to say that
Ontario.
from perspective. No,
Yeah?
Kingston, Jamaica. And I have to say, from a traveling perspective, it was a little rough going. The worst part about it, didn't like about it, is that yes, while I was at the event and I was meeting people face to face, it was, in that regard, it was fantastic. But at one point, I asked the event organizers, say, if I were to just sort of go out into town and check things out on my own, would that be okay? And they said, no.
Please don't. We
I
want
felt
you
a
to come
little
back.
sort of like trapped. There now they took great care of me. They took me out. We went to various parts around town with people, in parks and getting ice cream and food and all kinds of stuff. It was perfectly comfortable. At no point did I actually not feel safe, but that lack of freedom certainly was not how I like to move around the world.
Yeah, not advisable. I had the same experience in Jamaica, where I had to pay someone to chaperone because I wanted to leave the resort. I didn't want an entire week of poolside drinks and buffet. I wanted to experience the culture and immerse myself in it. And it wasn't advisable. It's like, well, what if I pay someone? And one of the resort employees had their father chaperone me. I spent the day with him, and I fed him, paid him, and I got to see Jamaica outside of the confines of the resort.
There you go. And I did something very similar. And I had somebody in advance I had organized, mainly for the event itself, but I had also this plan to visit a school that specialized in autism, and I wanted to kind of help them out a bit. And so they helped arrange for me to go there. I had paid a local videographer who was fantastic. He did a fantastic job. So again, that's where I'm saying, if anything, with all the expenses that I took on for that, I probably broke even on that event. But as far as content, as far as material, as far as the experience, meeting people in person, it was still all worth it. I would say.
Because it sort of builds, you build content around it. I often say that my wife and I travel about a month once a year. And, I never say that I drove up the highway and saw the dingoes. I'm always talking about, remember when we went to China? Remember when we went to Portugal? Remember when we went to Spain? These adventures are very sort of essential for our relationship and our lifestyle. We only go once a year for 1 month. That's as much as I can cope with. And I hate flying more than you can tell, but I have to do it because we have to get there. I could just drive up the highway and go to Ayers Rock, but I've done that. And I got to be honest, it was all right. But I don't like driving, and it's just a bloody long way. But the traveling can often be worth it. If you want to join us, Faith, you're very welcome to. We can have up to 8 on stage, and we're talking about repurposing and all these different stories. If you want, we can work you through how to get started on restreaming on Substack. I'm not going to lie, it's not easy. I'm not going to lie, but once you've done it, you've done it, and then
let's get Faith. Let's get Faith in here because she's had some fantastic questions. I've been able to. I don't know if I'm able to respond to the chat myself, but I've seen that she's the one person. She stood up for me. She knew that I was talking about platform independence and asset ownership. She was bang on. She knew exactly what I was talking about, so I appreciate that. And she asked some great questions about the restream, which I think we ended up covering too. So, that would be great. Faith, I do see your messages coming in as well. It would be great to have you on.
Yeah, so jump in if you can. And Faith also resonates with the idea that I am an audio-only guy. And the thing that's very interesting about this idea is that a lot of people, even to me now, hassle the shit out of me. Why aren't you on video? I don't want to. And that's the answer. I don't want to. There's no wrong or right answer. I don't have to. You can't make me. It's my show. But I want to stick up for the 25% of people that say, mate, I'm with you. I hate video. I hate it. I don't want to do it. And I want to hear from you. I don't necessarily need to hear what you look like. I want to hear what you sound like. I want to hear your comments. So I might be the only person in the world as passionate about this, but I'm pretty dogged about it. So I've just sent you the link in Substack, Faith, if you want to join us. We go from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Australian time and 8 p.m. till midnight. I just love that. It's like a night DJ dude, isn't it? Like I'm just getting all the truckers and all the people working out late at night. It's at 8 p.m. till midnight. That's the show. I might even write a song about that. So it's a rhythm, isn't it? We actually probably skipped this whole process, Julian, but did you ever get involved in Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces and LinkedIn audio and all of those things, or did you just completely bypass that movement?
Right. So
what do you think, Julian?
I did come in on LinkedIn. Yeah, I came in on LinkedIn video fairly early when video was introduced. And that was fantastic for me, actually. I mean, that was really where most of my BIYF audience was coming in at the time, because of the fact that video was so young at the time. There really were very, very few video content, and it was the platform was very supportive of content creators. Then they introduced LinkedIn Live, and they were selective. I had actually applied a couple of times, and they didn't accept. Remember that? Now, in fairness, a fairly outspoken critic of various sort of LinkedIn policies, LinkedIn algorithmic decisions, how well the platform is built. So understandably, I can understand why some people on the platform, in those early days, Keith, they're like, oh, it's easy to be the rebel in a room full of nerds. Now the funny thing is I think I am a nerd, actually, but nonetheless, I think that sort of outspoken pushback was, I think, the audience who did come and listen to my stuff. But I can understand why maybe LinkedIn didn't let me LinkedIn Live. But I did do my first LinkedIn Live the other day, and I think I'm going to connect this all together in a very similar way that you guys are doing. My goal, my show, is going to be actually building online, hopefully with guests. So I'm working my way towards that, and this is
coding in public.
Good, yeah, coding in public. I think I'm going to call it the combat. So kind of like combat, but combat. Does that make sense? Do you think people will get that?
Hey, Julian, come hang out over on your stage live on School, because I just love not only sharing, but having others having others share how their live journeys are evolving, because there's no better way to learn than to learn from each other when you bring together a group of live-minded people.
And School's a cool platform for sure. Yeah, School's a really cool platform.
I'll send you the link.
I was just saying that School's a great platform.
Well, tell us what you think of it. We often talk about School versus Substack. What do you think? Tell us about your take on that.
Well, I haven't used it yet myself. I know, Udemy is an example of a comparison. I'll let you go. Sorry, America, go.
I don't know if the question was directed to me, but I will answer. Love the fact that School has put out a product that is relatively well priced for the hobbyist and the entry level community builder. And I love the fact that it provides, in some cases, a very simple interface that does require a little bit of investment to kind of move it along. Some cases are a little too basic, but nonetheless, it is a great place that brings an abundance of community builders and people who are just tired of the whole social media ecosystems and chasing algorithms. People are finding their tribes in this platform, and I can't tell you how much it helps having people who are like-minded, just as excited to help each other grow and refer and recommend community members to each other. Now, the one thing I'm trying to differentiate myself when it comes to community, and this isn't exclusive to school, anyone building a community. If you're building a community just to warehouse how-to information, how-to resources, listen, there's how-to is available for free across the interweb. You can ask an AI agent, you can do a browser-based search, and you're going to find an abundance of how-to. I want to be able to host a community that not only has the how-to from my perspective, from my lens, but also offers a place where people can practice, rehearse, implement, and learn for themselves without going onto their public domains and feeling intimidated. Because I didn't realize how big of a gap there is. There's a lot of people who appreciate live content, appreciate the value, but when you ask them to come over, when you ask them to cross that line and say, all right, let's give this a try, the reluctance, the apprehension, the fear, call it what you want, there's a huge gap. And I want to bridge that gap and make people feel welcome, make people feel safe, that it's okay to practice, it's okay to fail, and it's okay to do it on my stage, and I will be there, and I will get you back on your feet, and I will get you back into your lane and allow you to put in the reps that you feel are necessary to then take those training wheels off and ride into the sunset on your own.
Look, I'm really fascinated by where this is going, and I had an idea that why don't we try and get some of the school members in? And what I might do is, what I do, Julian, is I pick a topic. You often hear me riffing on a song title. When LinkedIn had its algorithm change, you must have been the second most angry person in the world about that, because I was definitely the angriest. And I was restricted 5 times in a month for just simply posting content about a show on LinkedIn that was coming up. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just saying, hey, we got a show. It's about LinkedIn. It's on LinkedIn. Would you like to come? That's it. I got restricted 5 times in the month of November, and I got again in March. And that's why I decided to go full on into Substack, and why it's very important to have this platform ownership discussion. So I wrote a song about that called "What is This New Algorithm?" And it sums up, it's got this dark dystopian sort of 80s Depeche Mode vibe, this 80s sort of dark punk thingy. But it's also got that sort of 80s techno vibe. And I think that the music is very indicative of the message. What is this algorithm? Have a listen to this. What I think we'll do is we'll take a bit of a break, have a stretch, make a cup of tea. Let's go and see if we can find some of our buddies and have a chat about where this is going for us.
What is this new algorithm? It's reading between reshuffled stories I never knew. No more chasing likes, no clickbait thrills. It's 3x stick goal, redefining script. 150 billion thoughts in play, learning what we mean, not just what we say. Every word, every vibe, every clue, all filtered through the lens of you. What is this new algorithm? It's reading between the lines. No more noise, just precision. Matching hearts and minds. What is this new algorithm? It's the rhythm of what we do. If you post with passion and purpose, it's gonna find you true. Scatter your thoughts and you'll fade away, but stay in your lane to avoid foul play. It craves clarity and names inside, meaningful content that shines so bright. They switch the system overnight. 1,000 models gone new inside. We'll fix this latest, they won't find no shortcuts. What is this new algorithm? It's reading in between the lines. No more noise, just precision. Matching hearts and minds. What is this new algorithm? It's the rhythm of what we do. If you post with passion and purpose, it's gonna find you true. What is this new algorithm? It's reading between the lines. No more noise, just precision. Matching hearts and minds. What is this new algorithm? It's the rhythm of what we do. If you post with passion and purpose, it's gonna find you true.
Okay. What is this new algorithm? Why do they make it so hard? Do you have any comments about that? We're about 90 minutes in. It's unlikely anyone's going to hear this, but what do you think, Julian? Are you as angry as I am about all the changes and how they're making it so hard? It's a great advocate for content ownership, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not that angry in the sense that these platforms deliver value to the users, then they're going to move somewhere else. And the fact that you moved over to Substack is a perfect. LinkedIn wasn't providing the value that you were looking for, and Substack was. That's their loss. And at the end of the day, that's really what they're competing for, is engagement. And they try, but and they have all these policies, and in the case of LinkedIn, and I find that they miss the mark. They're trying to block bots, and I'm all for them, and so on, but they end up making mistakes, and the question to ask for anybody and everyone really is, am I being fed the content that I want to see, that is relevant to me? And when I produce content, is that generating, finding that I want to find? And if that's not happening, then that's the fault of the platform. And I say, die by the vine, or whatever the right expression is there.
Well, look,
so
let's pick up on this idea of audience. Let's pick up on this idea.
Let me just finish. Let me add one little thing.
Yep. Yeah. No worries.
Because it's tied. Let me add one little thing, which is these education platforms, right? Because that was sort of its own little bit there, and we're talking about school, and I have the feeling that school is fantastic. I have no experience with it, nor have I personally used Udemy. I know a lot of people have used Udemy. I used to use Kajabi in cases where people were education platforms. I thought it was a very sophisticated platform, but it was very expensive. So again, same. A new competitor comes. It love seeing evolve online and platforms like School come around and succeed. And if it's doing a better job, America, I'm very interested to, at some point to learn more about your experience with that platform, because I feel like perhaps they did come around with a superior platform for exactly this kind of shared education experience. And it goes back to the same thing. If you come out with a better product, boo for you, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's pick up on this. Did you ever use Udemy or Kajabi or and look, there's about 100 of these, but have you heard of Udemy, Americo? Do you know what we're talking about there?
I have heard of Udemy. I've participated in learning modules that were hosted on Udemy. Yes.
Yeah, but School offers a very, very different premise. So Udemy is a platform that allows you to put content onto the site and sell it. But I don't think it has a community element, does it? I think you just buy content or play it through them. And the basic idea is that if you create the content and you sell it on the Udemy platform, they take 30%. And if you create content and they sell it for you, they take 70% and give you 30%. Right? I mean, it's bloody hell.
Hey, I bought a lifetime subscription, and I can't remember who I have to thank for. But I bought into SkillPlate when it was still on.
Skill Plate. Tell me about that.
Yeah, same premise. It's a mix. It offers a bit of community. It is limited to Discord, so that wasn't really a selling feature for me. But the reason I got it was because I can create learning assets and sell them individually. So same idea as Udemy. I can load the assets, ebooks, learning modules, courses, and sell them. They take, I think it's only 10%, so it's a lower percentage than Udemy. I thought it was a viable solution to School. This was before I invested in building on School, and the fact that I could only build community on Discord. I knew the struggles you went through to grow a community on Discord, and I figured, all right,
And
let's hold on to it because it was
big difference. I bet a big difference. I'm curious. Do you know whether School requires exclusivity? So, in other words, are you totally free, for example, to sell your product on, and then also on your website provide the same content at a slightly reduced fee? So, for whatever reason, you might want to do that, whether that's to bring people into your immediate ecosystem directly through your site. But I'm just curious, do you know whether they require exclusivity?
No, but they will throttle and restrict your discoverability if you try to sell an asset through a third-party payment link. So if you have an offer, so for instance, if I took an asset from SkillPlate and loaded it as an offer in School, that offer would get throttled, and very few people would see it because it would take people off the platform, and School cannot monetize or get revenue from that asset that I'm selling. So in terms of exclusivity, they will favor assets that are sold on the native platform, but there's nothing stopping you from offering the same service on different domains, your website or a different platform, and keep the two as separate entities.
But it sounds to me more and more I hear about it, exactly that I think School around and done some of what Udemy was doing, some of maybe what Kajabi was doing, and came out with a better product that, exactly as you're pointing out, they're asking for less off the top. Only asking for 10%, and I think you're right that I could be wrong about Udemy being 20. I think Udemy does require exclusivity, so the fact that there's some throttling there, I get you can want to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You sell to be private. That's understandable to me, and it sounds like it's a very user-friendly platform with a growing. They seem to have a lot of the momentum at the moment. I'll give them. I'll give them that. And that's just, I'm saying that from the sidelines, but that's my impression.
Yeah.
Let's pick up on this. I've never thought of school as a place to buy content. I've always assumed it was a community site. What percentage of those two those ideas are? I've never seen a product for sale on school.
So if you go into my classroom, for instance, you can buy a replay of an event that I hosted, the one with Christina. You can buy the replay. If you missed it, you can still partake and participate in it. There are other courses and workshops. So for instance, you can go on YouTube and punch in a how do I live stream, and you're going to get free videos. But if you want an asset where Americo sits with you step by step and creates modules. All right, here's what we're going to do now. Here's a 3-day challenge. I want create some videos and load them up, and I will provide you feedback, constructive criticism, and we'll create this challenge. Like if you create a paid challenge, you can do that as well, and buy those types of programs in the classroom.
Yeah, well, Bez has got a school community. I'd love to know. Bez, we're talking about school, and I would love to know, do you sell products on school? Is it a community site? Is it a bit of both? What do you think school is? I didn't think that you could sell things on school. I thought it was just a platform for a community.
You can sell things on school. I mainly just have it for the people, my cohort, and so I only have like 12 people in there. And it's, for me, because the feed is, let's say I have 2 different cohorts, then I have a problem with school because it doesn't allow me to have a different feed for each cohort. It's all one general. So I have to have them go behind create a container there and give them access to. But I am thinking of opening it up and maybe making it free or very low cost. I just don't want to deal with the with the trolls. So even if I charge $1, I really don't know. I'm struggling with that one. So more to come on that. But love to hear what you guys are doing. So yeah.
Well, we're talking a lot about Keithy's America. Let's just pick up on the Keithy idea. This is a very cool idea, and I don't think I've got a photo of this, but Bez lives in Atlanta or near Atlanta. In fact, probably a similar distance from Atlanta than you are from Toronto. And another friend of mine who lives in Atlanta comes on the show all the time, and they've never met in person. And one day they did. Do you want to tell that story? Because I think it's a magnificent story about connection online and in person. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Bez, do you want to? I found a photo.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lachelle, I met her online at on Clubhouse back in the day, and she would attend Keith's shows. So we would, I ran into her all over the place, and so she lives in Atlanta, and so hell, we didn't do a Keith side, but she lives she lives a little bit south of Atlanta. It was a 2.5 hour drive to come up and meet me. So we're there at the Bridge Creek Inn, which is a brand new renovated hotel where we host the 1 million cups. And I asked her to come up to be a speaker, and she did, and she brought like three of her kids with her. Um, she got there at 9:30, which was perfect. We start at 9, but it's usually around the time that the speaker we hand it over to the speaker. And so she was raining that day, and I was just glad she didn't call in or send me a text, "Hey Bez, I'm not gonna be able to make it." When she gives you her word, she shows up, and I can appreciate that. And I got to meet her, and she's a lovely person. She has 15 kids. She's called America's Super Mom, and she's very out there. She's visible. She's and so yeah, I don't know what to say other than that. It was wonderful to meet her after running into her all over, during COVID on Clubhouse, and then on Keith's rooms and whatnot. So yeah, finally, Keith, I like to say, shake hands, kiss a few babies, so I
Well,
gave her a big
the
old
reason I
hug. So,
mentioned
yeah.
this, the reason I mentioned this, and I don't know if you were part of this conversation yesterday, but Julian loves meeting people, and he's been to a couple of the events that I've spoken at. I've spoken and I was on the screen. There's no way in the world I'm flying to Jamaica. And to your point, Julian, the person said to me, this was actually about the same time as the Fire Festival. I don't know if you remember that story, but someone said to me, look, mate, I'll give you $5,000 to fly to Jamaica. I'm thinking, there's no way in the world you're going to pay me. There's just no way. I just can tell. Why would you? I just can tell. $5,000. Why don't you give me 500 and I'll do it online? But I tell you what, Julian, I chased her every day for 90 days. I hassled the shit out of her until she paid me, because we had an agreement. I bought my wife a nice digital camera because I kept her awake. Like, I was 2 a.m. here, and Kara said, "Look, I don't mind if you do these late night gigs,
yeah, no.
but you've got to get paid, Keith, because you're interrupting my sleep." And I've got to go to work tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So I'm not doing this for free.
Look, I years ago, I worked a little bit in that sort of events marketing, programming. And fortunately, I was more on the peripheral of that, in the sense that I wasn't sort of in charge of the event, although I've certainly done a few. And there's no question that that's a very sort of difficult and ambitious kind of initiative to take on. And one of the big challenges for something like that, right, is that you're very dependent on ticket sales. And in that case, they had a very slick system, because they had the sales that were online, they had the in-person. That was also a funny kind of instance where the event name brand, the Global Digital Marketing Summit, moves around from country to country, location to location. And so they have local organizers. And so it's actually not so much centralized in terms of how that happens. So, I suspect that what happened in that particular case was that the ticket sales maybe were not quite what she had hoped they were. Maybe she was overextended somewhere or other, to the point where she was maybe just breaking even, or maybe losing money herself. I agree with you that, you make an agreement, you live up to it. And those types of instances have long-term repercussions. I tend not to sweat those things too much.
But there you are. Look at this. Look at this, mate.
I mean, obviously,
I found a graphic. This is you on stage, live on stage at Jamaica.
No, I don't know if that one's me. I don't know if that was him. No, that was on me. Although I posted, there's a video of me at it for sure. There's a couple of videos and lots of pictures. I could certainly dig up some funny ones for you if you want.
Yeah, but what happened
Let's see
there?
if I
And
can.
I'll
I'll go
throw to
find
you,
them
Bez,
right
on
now.
this. Bez and Julian definitely need to chat, because what Bez, you need to hear this. I want you to take notice. I want you to stop what you're doing, and I want you to pay attention right now that Julian has
Right.
found a way to use Claude to make stuff. Now you need to connect with him, and you need to have him on your show because he's a genius. Now, you heard it from me.
Yes.
Stop what you're doing. Don't get distracted. Don't try and do 3 things at once and watch the television and cook a meal and talk to your wife. We're here right now. Be in the moment. And Julian needs your undivided attention because he spoke at this event with me. I spoke online. He spoke in person. And he has got I'm going to throw to you, Julian, on this. Can you just reform what you do and why it's so important in this repurposing sort of landscape? Probably looking for those images while we speak. But what Julian does is he's found, and he uses Claude. Seems like everyone's using Claude. He's found a way to use
I didn't realize
Claude.
that was thrown to me, Claude. Yeah.
Now you go if you're there.
That's right. I do use Claude. I love Claude. I think it's fantastic. First of all, I mean, you know that how the valuation of Anthropic, the company behind it, it got so much behind. It is a very useful multi-purpose. So while I think it's fantastic, and let's say more on my side, developer side, that latched onto it early, but it's still a fantastic tool for research, for writing, for planning, concept ideation, organizing. So there is really, as an all-purpose tool, it's a good one. And yes, I built a platform on which makes that development even faster, at least for me.
And you're sort of downplaying it because you lose me about halfway in because I just don't understand what you're talking about. But I understand that you've got this tool that can do stuff. And as an example, Bez, I want to share this example. Julian was online yesterday. This is amazing. I'm going to send this to you. Julian was online yesterday and I said, we got this really cool SEO tool that our friend Richard made. So overnight, Julian made one. It's bloody brilliant. You want to tell us about that, Julian, and what it does? Just out of nowhere, he says, "Yeah, I can do that," and he did it. He made a tool to calculate your AEO on your blog posts overnight. He's a genius. How did you do it, and what does it do, Julian? What
Okay,
do you do?
so that's right. Okay, well, in this case, again, it was really actually simple for me, in part because I had already built a tool on my agency site that was an audit tool. It was more geared towards your website and a few various things that it is auditing. It's looking at your speed and security. It's looking at your marketing content. It's captures and figuring out what your brand kit is, and it assembles that into a report. So I'd already built a module that does that. And I was using that as a sort of a lead capture tool. In other words, you would get a high level sort of overview of your report. And by the way, the way that it's working is that in the background, it's using AI to help generate that report. And so you get the high level version. It asks you for an email, and that's really to prevent people from exploiting it, from giving, just using it all the time, using up my AI credits. And so the only way to get the full report is to give me your email at least. And so I decided to, hey, I can repurpose that tool. What we were talking about yesterday, you were talking about SEO, an SEO tool. And it was really in through that conversation when we were saying, oh, okay, you know, how might someone like Keith use this? And it occurred to me that there's might just take the whole text from a blog you haven't posted yet, or you might have it online already and you want to review it and maybe tweak it. So from that perspective, I said, okay, wouldn't that be cool? And then also that it's going through is AEI centric, you know, how readable, I guess, or usable is the clip you've provided on this link or in this text for AI agents like ChatGPT or others. So it uses a different level kind of analysis, but as far as the sort of metrics, the front end, the back end, all of that existed. And I didn't have to do much other than say, here's the tool, here's what is the new version, here's the variation that I want. Can you build me a zip module that does that? And it gave me another module, and I installed it and tested it, and I found one little flaw, and I said, hold on, let's fix this, let's fix that. And we did, and that was it. It was fast.
And that was it. That's the way geniuses talk. Do you want to pick up on this, Bez? I mean, this tool, this brain that we have in front of us knows more than we've talked about in the last year. And he's right there. So what do you need? What tool, if you had a magic wand, what tool would you make? And what do you need? Because we've got him. We've got him right now. What do you need?
Well, I'm interested. I'm in on the tail end of the conversation, but something about that J2 software or something. I'd love. Sounded like it might be something worth checking out, but I'll start there. I mean, it sounds like you know, Julian is really into vibe coding, and that's awesome. I love that. I've seen more people solve their own problems than to, you know, go with a SaaS product because it just doesn't really fit. But, you know, when they solve their own problems, it fits perfectly, right? So I love what you're doing, Julian. Love to know more about that. The software, I guess you guys were talking about yesterday when I came in towards the tail end.
Well, you know, off the top of my head, what I'll say is this, Keith, you know, right, that I'm able to share my screen as well. If that's the case, what I would propose is that we take a rough stab at a tool that lets you take content and break it into little sequences. Video's complicated, it's difficult, but I think maybe just doing it, and this is in line with what my objectives are for my little white robot project, is coding live. We could give it a shot if you want it.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. I'll just throw to Americo because he's got to go. Well, any last thoughts on this before we come back? You can come back when we're finished. He's just got to go and buy stuff, yeah?
Yeah, tomorrow's Canada Day and everything's closed, and I just realized I got to get to a Walmart before shops close up and pick up some supplies for tomorrow.
Yeah, so we'll pick up on this. I'll send you the transcript, and we'll see what we can do. You've already created a massive screen thumbnail. Let's do a few more of them. And this
Did you notice? We are wrapping up the month of June, which was focused on repurpose. And I took your graphic and I repurposed the graphic because that is your iteration.
Yeah, using Bing.
Right. So I took your graphic and I repurposed it by adding my title.
So you made a thumbnail out of my thumbnail.
You got it.
Yeah. So you go and do your thing. We do this all the time, and I'll send you the transcript and the replay. And happy Canada Day to everyone. listening in from Canada. We've got quite a few people listening in. About 8% of our listeners are from Canada. So please follow me there and follow along. 7%, 24 people.
All right, folks, I will tune in the car, and I make that promise that I will not participate from the car, because we all know what that sounds like.
So what do you need, Julian? What are you
that.
what are you proposing? I don't know how to share, to allow you to share your screen. I don't know if guests can share it. I don't know if guests can share their screen. I think we can.
He can. He can request, and you'd have to grant him permission once he sends you the request. So
he sends a request to share his screen, and I say yes.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah. I see the button. Yeah, I can send a request. Yeah,
all right.
Let me queue it up. Let me do something, and then before we do that, and then I'll let you know when I'm ready. You'll see the queue. You'll see the invite. And Americo, have a good luck shopping. Get meat. I bet you will still be around by the time you get back. Right. But but have a great Canada Day if I don't speak to you otherwise.
All right. Likewise. Thank you, gentlemen. Take care.
Yeah. So why don't we give you a couple of minutes to set that up? In the meantime, can you, Julian and Bez, connect with each other on LinkedIn? I think there's enormous synergy here. I'm going to play a variation of the practice. You already done it? So what I'll do is I'll play a song while you get that set up. Get your questions going. We've still got some people in the background asking questions at the beach, quite literally at the beach. So I'll bring in some of those questions. But I'll play a bit of a song which will set up the next. We've been going 2 hours. So 2 hours to go. It's a nice little mid show break. Practical AI. This is what we're going to be talking about after the break.
This is practical AI, simple and real, turning just an idea into something you feel. From stuck in your head to something you share, one small step and it's suddenly there. No code, no pressure, just dive right in. This is practical AI, so let's begin. You don't need a lab coat, don't need a degree, just a curious mind and a cup of coffee. Open up a blank page, type a simple line, help me write a story, now you're co-designing time. It's not sci-fi, it's not far away, it's in your hands every single day. This is practical AI, simple and real, turning just an idea into something you feel. From stuck in your head to something you share, one small step and it's suddenly there. No code, no pressure, just dive right in. This is practical AI, so let's begin. Need a better headline, need to clean your notes, summarize a meeting or draft that post. It won't be perfect, but it'll get you close, like a quiet collaborator who never says no. You steer the wheel, it helps you drive. It's not alive, but it amplifies. This is practical AI, simple and real, turning just an idea into something you feel. From stuck in your head to something you share, one small step and it's suddenly there. No code, no pressure, just dive right in. This is practical AI, so let's begin. Ask better questions, get better replies. That's the secret no one really hides. Edit, refine, don't copy, paste blind. You're still the author, it's just your co-pilot mind. Start with one thing, keep it real simple. Write, test, tweak, that's the whole principle. This is practical AI, simple and real, turning just an idea into something you feel. From stuck in your head to something you share, one small step and it's suddenly there. No code, no pressure, just dive right in. This is practical AI, so let's begin.
Okay, practical AI. It's a lesson. It's time to sit up and take notice and learn stuff. So, look, we have so much content. We have so much content just sitting on our YouTube channels and our Substack accounts and our Facebook pages that it's just sitting there and we never do anything with it. Let's see if we can find a way to do something with that material. So I've added that thumbnail for you there, or that screenshot for you, Julian. What are you thinking? Let's have a go.
All right, so you can see my screen. This is fantastic. As you can see, I am in Claude right now, and here's what I've queued up. I've queued up some examples of what I think would be good guides for how this tool would work. This is roughly what we were talking about. So here's what I've quickly written, Keith, but I'm more than interested on that. Build a module that's useful for content creators to apply a local media file, identify transcript, good opportunities for short form clips, and the ability to render small clips with thumbnails. When you think about a tool like this, is there other functionality or aspects to the interface that you would want a tool like this to have?
Personally, I'd like the transcript and for it to write a blog post from it. I don't particularly. I'm not that inspired by videos, but we say we've got this YouTube video that goes 4 hours. I would love to get the transcript and make something with that transcript that turns into a blog post summarizing the show.
Blog articles summarizing the transcript. Okay, there's a good little addition to that tool. So I'm just going to click enter here. Keith, this is the fun about doing stuff live. We don't know what Claude's going to say to me now, but let's see what let's see what happens. So we're click, and it's thinking, let me this. I rarely do this. Usually I walk away from Claude and let him do his thing. But since we're doing a live show, let's kind of look at what it's. Let's say we'll call it its AI thought process is, right?
Coding so in public.
We are now actually coding in public. This is fantastic. I'm so glad we're doing this, Keith. And how's it showing up there? Because right now I'm looking at Claude.
Yeah, it's coming up and it's giving you little packages, little sentences.
Little sentences. It's telling me what its sort of thought process is there, right? So it's searched through the project for module development guide. Okay, because that's something that I upload. That's part of the Studio J process. It knows, but so it has a question for me, Keith. Let's see what it says. It says, how should transcripts get generated? Auto transcribe the uploaded audio video via API, example 11 labs. Okay, or use pastes or support both. Let's do support both, right?
What do you think, Bez? This could be very handy for you. What do you, when you create content, what do you need this to do? Do you need the audio? Do you need the video? Do you need the transcript? All three.
I think you definitely want one as an option, because maybe you don't have the transcript, right? You only have the audio, for example.
Yeah. I'll tell you exactly how I do it while we're talking about it. What we've been doing now, which is very clumsy, is that once the show finishes on Substack, we get the transcript as a text file, TXT, and which is a words in a row of the whole thing. And then I punch that into Copilot and it says, well, geez, this was a good conversation. Here are the 12 main points you hooked about and one quote from each. And it gives me 2 pages of 12 concepts and a quote from one of the guests. And then I print that out and read it over a cup of coffee. And I say, okay, well, geez, part number 3, analytics, platforms, and audience behavior, which is what we talked about yesterday. Jason's cross-platform analytic comparison and the time zone strategy for scheduling shows. So that could become a blog post. Could be. So
Right.
it's words in a row that make sense to me. And then I think, well, that topic we talked about could be at tomorrow's blog post. Yeah. That's how I want to use it, because I've got 118 articles on Substack now, and they're going very well, and they're excellent for SEO. So does that help? Do you want to jump in here, Bez? We're doing this for you.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I'm watching this. This is great. Love it. Excuse me.
Cool. So yeah, so you see that it's what we're looking for is obviously so involved that it actually doesn't want to do it in one go all at once. But I would say, you know, for demonstration purposes, what I'm going to say is let's build a complete zip module as far as we can take it for now. Now, in regular processes, I might think through these options right now, but again, this is sort of a display. And I think it's I think it's really cool that we actually took on something that's a bit challenging. So we already have the heads up right now that, you know, where we're going to end up in this is maybe incomplete. As Bez was following through there, it had sort of a sequence order of the development. That, and then at some point, all we're going to have to do something a little fancy, Keith, which is I'm going to then try to switch from my Claude screen to one of my installations of Studio J so that you can see me experiment with this tool. It's still working though. You see what you see going away, right?
Okay. Yeah, you switched. It worked. It's still doing its thing.
Yep, we gave it a big project to do. That's the thing. But you know, we're talking about a complicated tool, are we not? Right, a sophisticated tool that's going to make our lives easier. If this takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you know, in my opinion, if it makes my life easier, then it's worth the effort up front. You know, something I've said often: programmers are fundamentally lazy, and there's a big difference between regular lazy and fundamental laziness. And here's the thing, right? A programmer will spend 72 hours straight drinking Red Bull in the dark, programming a tool that is going to shave off 20 minutes of an annoying task that he has to do every single day. And he'll spend all that time creating that tool that does that for him. In the end, depending on how long he is with the company, he may have spent more time building the tool than he actually saved in those 20 minutes. But that's what I mean when I say programmers fundamentally lazy. They're quite dedicated. They'll work very hard, but it's all about efficiency. It looks like we're getting close to something.
Have you seen the Spotify series where they discussed how they built Spotify?
And I have not.
Yeah, it's very good. And the boss said there's a lag time of 0.8 of 1 second. Now, I'm not going to release it until you get rid of that lag time. Mate, you push the button, it's 0.8 of 1 second. No one's going to notice. I'm the boss, and I noticed. They spent another month on it, getting rid of that 8.8 of 1 second. Exactly what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, all the stuff that we're doing right now, talking right now, is really amazing, right? People are watching an AI Claude happen through my screen from your host. This is all going up and down to space in the matter of seconds. I think the lag is certainly livable in my opinion.
And hello, Jason. Jason's listening in from Red Deer, Alberta. We'll bring him in a minute. Do you use Claude? I'll bring him in a minute on this. But why this is important is that what you're talking about is beyond my comprehension. Like, I'm not embarrassed to say that now. I just don't understand what you're talking about. But it's important because it's 2026 and it's not going away. And I've got to get used to. I've got to learn it. I want to learn it, and that's why I came up with that song, Practical AI, because I was going to bed screaming, mate, I just feel stupid. I just don't understand what you're talking about. I feel like a dickhead. I just don't get it. I just didn't get it. And because that's not my history. I didn't go to computer school. I don't even know what any of these codes mean. I'm just a guy in the suburbs, right? But most importantly, my clients are guys in the suburbs, right? They're just people. They don't want to know what you know. They want you to do it for them. They don't want to code. No one wants to code, I don't think. I mean, you don't come out of the womb thinking, I'm going to be a coder. No one thinks that, do they? Is that did you always want to do that when you grew up, Julian? Did you always knew this was what you were going to do?
How's it going?
If this is gonna take some time, I might play a song, and I can always stop it. I can always stop it.
I'm back.
But
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we take a quick break and we're going to change the screen? Because this is when I change the screen, that's actually, Keith, where a lot of what we just did is going to start making sense to you.
Okay.
But
let me play a song
for sure.
One of the things I talk about a lot from the perspective of the wood ducks in the suburbs, which I am one, what I call myself is a technical dumbass. You know, I don't pretend to know anything about this stuff, but I know people who do. What I'm really interested in is can the average person in the suburbs tell that this stuff is AI? I'm really fascinated by it. I'm not fascinated by how it's done or that we can do it. I'm really fascinated by whether people in the suburbs can tell. The average person in the street that doesn't know anything about this, if you just presented it to them, can they tell it's an AI-generated image? Can they tell it's an AI-generated song? Can they tell it's an AI-generated blog post? And if they can't, then why aren't we doing more of this? So I wrote a song about that on AI. The song was written on Perplexity, and the music was done with Suno. I'm not pretending to be clever in any way. I just pushed a few buttons and did a few versions. But listen to this. This is really, really poignant for what we're talking about.
If you can't tell, you can't choose who's the ghost and who's the muse. They're using code to chase the views. If you can't tell, then you can't choose. Woke up wired, but I can still dream. Circuits hum under my skin sheen. You say real, but what's it mean? When metal hearts still
Okay, and we're back. How you doing there, Julian? Have we
Hello.
got some progress? What's going on?
We have fantastic progress in that Claude finished what it was doing. It gave me a single zip module. I've saved it onto my desktop. Now, you like tools, don't you, Keith? You'd like to use them. You don't like to build them, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how does this look? So we are in one installation of Studio J, the white robot installation, as you see, and look at all of these tools. This is just
With
this
that one
is
prompt.
the yeah with no. This is Studio J itself. This is Studio J platform,
okay.
and every single one of these little modules that I'm mousing over is its own module that I built, like the
Cool.
one we just built, right?
Okay,
So
yes.
and so Studio J comes with two dashboards. This is the regular one, and so this is the main one that both, let's say, clients and customers, staff and customers could have. I'm going to go over to the admin because what we're doing here is high level stuff, right? Keith, we're building tools, and we're going to go over to this little module here. And by the way, all of this stuff, the logo, the design, that's actually customizable, really easily customizable. You just go over into these design settings module. That's a standard module with Studio J. But let's go in here, and this has all of the modules here, and we're going to go upload modules. You could do something like that, right, Keith? And I'm going to drag. You're not really going to see me go over to my folder. But you see, we said Clip Studio. It's called Clip Studio version 1.0.0. Are we ready to upload? Is this going to work? Now, look, by the way, let me point out, we're talking about a complicated module, but in fact, look how lightweight that is. It tells you right now that the whole tool
2 megabytes.
is only 0.02 megabytes. Yeah,
Wow.
0.02. All right, we're going to upload it. Does it like it? Yes, look, it's uploading 100% done. Isn't that cool? Let's go over to the dashboard.
What would you do?
Oh,
with
look,
that?
there it is. Let's see what happens when we open it up. Oh,
would you put it?
We have a Clip Studio.
Jump in, Bez. This is going to help you. What would you put it in? An MP? What would you put in there? An MP4? Would you put the YouTube link? How would you get what you need from it? Choose a file, an MP4.
It says choose a video or audio file. So let me see what I can find somewhere.
Yeah. What does YouTube download as? A movie file, MOV file.
But tell me something, Keith, before we even move any further. Does that give you a better understanding of what Studio J is now?
Oh, of course. Yes. You've started with a prompt. You've now got a sort of a folder, a library. Library is a good word. You've got a library of ones you've done before. You've then created a prompt, and you've got a Clip Studio from the prompt you gave it. And now you just simply say, put in an MP4 or a WAV file. A WAV file. We can put in a WAV file, and it will create. What will it create from that?
Well, let's have a quick look. I just quickly found a video that I did that's very short. Let's see if it actually does its job. It might have some trouble by the audio. Click audio, extract audio. Let's see if it works. It might not. We might run into some trouble. We might have some debugging to do. As I said, we certainly made an ambitious module here, and there were steps that in terms of the development process that this might be incomplete at this point in time, but we're in the process. We've imagined a tool that's going to make our lives easier, and we're already testing it. We went from ideation there with a little commercial break to testing. In how long did this all take?
All in the space of a 3-minute song.
Right. Not bad, eh?
What do you think, Bez? Jump in on this. I'm doing this for you. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. It's a lot of so I can take the StreamYard thing and I can do additional clipping. It'd be interesting. Absolutely. and then I could from
Yeah.
there
Yeah,
cut it
that's the
up,
point.
make additional content.
It's, there we go. We ran into some problems. So I'll have to go back into that and see. I'm suspecting that there was like a credit limit or a standard issue with that because it's going back and reusing it. But that's sort of the point. That's part of the vision of Studio J was it occurred to me that you want people. One was everybody was trying to build their own style too, and that's fantastic. Now, in order to build a very good SaaS tool, you have to envision and imagine the entire workflow and process that's going to accommodate the most people, right? And their workflows. And I decided that I wasn't going to compete with that market, that quite the contrary. I was going to build a tool that made it easy for people to say, this is what my workflow is, and therefore this is where I want the assistance. This is where I want the AI intervention. I want to invent my own workflow. And we just walked through a quick example, and how that works. And yeah, that's so now I think you understand a bit better in terms of what it is, what I'm trying to achieve. In some ways, I'm competing, as I said before, with major platforms like WordPress, Shopify that already have huge plug-in marketplaces, and if you want to use them, they're very expensive. And if you do it on WordPress, for example, that becomes very heavy when we're going back to that
And
subject about rate.
do you want to? Do you want? This is a very important question. Do you want to do this for others, or sell a product where people can do it themselves, or do you have sort of both options available?
Right. So I am working towards the sort of the complete, you which would be a SaaS version, right? Where you immediately have access. It's all done. It's all click and play. It's all, because a lot of this, as you see, is made to be kind of point and click user friendly. Everything that we're doing here is like that. And same with all the other tools, right? Like I said, if I want to change the design of this site and uh, make my own custom theme, I can do that. I can change it to this dark theme if I want, or change my logo. And then now everything kind of looks a little different.
The reason I'm asking
depending on
is
how I like to use it.
the reason I'm asking. Geez, the time lag's really pissing me off. There's a huge time lag. Must be 4 seconds. The reason I'm asking is that there's two very distinct markets. One is for a fee, either a one-off fee or a monthly fee. You can do it yourself. You just go at it. Or for for whatever it is, I'll do it for you. Now, this is like driving. Like you buy a car, you buy that car once, you own it for 10 years, you go wherever you want, whenever you want, because it's your car, right? But you pay that one fee one time. The other model is, look, I don't want to own a car. I don't want to have to learn to drive. A lot of Gen Zs don't want to learn to drive. And this is a true story. So I'm just going to get an Uber anytime I need to go into the city. It costs me $20 because this is a very, very good discussion. My car costs 30 grand. I'm going to have it for 10 years. That's $300 a year. That's about $60 a week, right? $60 a week to have a car sitting in the garage, even before I get in it. It's going to cost me $20 a month to insure it, and it's going to cost me $20 a month for rego. So $100 a week to have a car sitting there in the garage before I put petrol in it and go anywhere. Right? Some people are saying, I don't want that. I want you to take me where I want to go when I want to go, and I'll give you $100 once a week. And then I don't have to pay for rego. I don't have to learn to drive. And I think what we're talking about here now, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. I don't want to learn to drive AI. I don't want to learn to drive it. I don't want to. I want a tool that does what I want it to do, but I want you to build it. And that's a market. The other market is, you know what? I'll pay what you have and I'll build it myself, but you've done all the hard work for me. Which model are you going with? Are you going with the monthly fee, annual fee, one-off fee, and you just go for what you want?
Right now,
or are you offering
right now it's 4 bundles. So it's really made for sort of 2 groups at the moment. At the moment, it's made for anybody who's willing to do this themselves, has a little bit of tech savvy. You don't have to be exceptionally. There's really only one technical barrier, which is FTP, being able to sort of drag files into a server. So, and then obviously anybody who's a developer, this is a fantastic tool for you to be able to offer. You can offer the exact same offer that I'm offering right through my agency, which is basically saying, in 1 week, I will build you a front end, a back end. We will customize all of this to your needs. We can even build a custom tool, possibly within that time frame, for $2,900. Any developer could get a license for this. Each purchase of, let's say, the enterprise bundle, which is the everything bundle, gives you 3 installations of Studio J, which means that they could offer, have to say Studio J, they could, let's say, white robot. It's sort of like white label marketing that people could,
white label. Yeah.
Right. So people can offer that as a service, front end plus back end, because Studio J is the back end, and it is super easy for any developer to install it on a website. You just have to drag it by FTP. And if you can do that, then the installation runs auto. It's like, it's click play. You just run it. It prompts you for, like, what's your admin username? What's your password? You set that up. It says, oh, here's all the modules that exist. Are you ready to install them now? You click yes. It automatically installs them. It's very fast. I could walk you through an installation, for example. And so that makes it for the developer now. They're just focused on connecting things like API keys, which are, things that would link it up to Claude, for example, if you wanted to use AI. It has a widget, a module that creates an AI bot that can answer questions. You can train it. You can give it a knowledge base. And it's got a tool to build a knowledge base so that you could have a chat wizard on your homepage. Any developer, I didn't really bother with your front website, because basically any developer can do that easily. And it's more of a question of, what are you trying to hook it up with at the back end? Do you have forms?
Let's ask Bez what he thinks. I mean, I can tell you for sure, I don't want to drive. So what you've just said there is completely lost on me. I don't want to do it. I don't want
to use these tools. You'd use the tools on these dashboards.
But I'd like to have the tools made. Yeah. So that's where the market is. What do you think, Bez? Do you want to drive? Do you want to do it yourself? Or would you rather pay someone to just build a suite of tools for you? Where are you, Bez? I mean, are you listening? I'm okay. Okay. I'd love to ask this question of the audience. Do you want to drive your own car? This is a good question, Julian. Like, it's 2026, and I've heard recently that Gen Z, anyone born after 2020, 2000, the year 2000, does not want to learn to drive. It's easier to get an Uber. I don't want to learn to drive. If I was 20, I wouldn't be driving either. I'd be just getting an Uber anywhere. They're $20. Do you have a facility where you can do this for people? You can drive them. You can make them these tools for them. Is that part of your offer?
Yeah, 100%. That's a I offer you. If you go to my agency site, jdnevins.ca, you'll see that exact offer that I was mentioning, where we'll in the week. I think let me quickly go over there and make sure that I quoted the right price. It's a funny thing. You know, I've had all of these websites, and one by one, I'm coming in and I'm updating the front end, and I'm adding in the Studio J background back end to run features or add-ons to each website. I'm sort of going back and plugging into each one again with that back end. But I think jdnevins.ca is one that has that offer. Let me quickly check.
There might be a mismatch between what you're offering and what
2,900
I'm capable of delivering. Yeah, so I don't want to drive, and the clients that I have don't want to even know what I know. They want it done for them. So I'll show you a little bit of what Americo is doing. What Americo does, this is very clever. Americo actually teaches live streaming. And he has 3 models. One is, I'll teach you how to do it, and you do it. I'll do it with you, like I'll be on the show with you and push the buttons, but you have to talk. Or 3, I'll run the show and I'll interview you. Right? He teaches all 3 models. Right? The least popular model is, can you teach me to do it myself? That is a very unpopular model. No one wants to do it themselves. They want it done for them. We live in a done for you year. I mean, would you agree? I mean, or are you finding there's people here that want to learn how to do this and want your tool?
I think the majority are in the camp that you're talking about, that be absolutely frictionless. They want to be able to do it on their phone. They want to be able to do it right away, done for them. They want AI to kind of automate and everything. And there aren't too many people. There are definitely people. There's no question, right? There are coders and vibe coders, as we've talked about, and people who are very interested in expanding their skill sets, learning how to code, learning how to build for that. But I agree, and it makes sense, really, that by the way, I'm not begrudging it. I like this stuff, and that's why I do it. I think what you're talking about and what you're the way that you to use tools, you want them easy, you want them intuitive, you want tools that you got them for, and you want them to be affordable, right? So there's nothing wrong with that, because you should be focused on what are your end goals, what are you good at, and that might be something completely different, and as using Americo as the example, he knows.
Well, I'll give you a really good example. I'm just going to have to play with this lag. There's about a 5-second lag. It's really fucking pissing me off. But I'll give you a really good example of what most people do. So we went into the city with some friends. They went to the football, and we met them afterwards. There's no way in the world I'm driving into the city. You couldn't pay me $100, or there's no way I'm doing it. I'm just not driving into the city. We got a train into the city. We got a train. Someone else is doing the driving. I just sit on the train. I get to where I'm going. Cost me $10. I'm very good. Very happy with that. Carol and I went $20 between us. Then we went into the city, and it got really, 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 really late. So the friend of ours said, look, let's get an Uber home. And a part of me said, had I have driven, we could have gone to the car park and I could have driven home, and that would have cost me nothing. But there's no way in the world I'm driving into the city on a Saturday night. No way. So an Uber is a very good example of what of a modern day lifestyle. It cost us $57 between us, the four of us, to get an Uber to our house. I didn't have to drive the car. I didn't have to park the car. I didn't have to deal with traffic. And I think this is the world we now live in. And more importantly, this is the world I want to live in. And I'm seriously considering in the future not owning a car, because it costs me $100 a week just to have it sitting there, and I use it once a week. I'm going to do that math one day. I go to the shops, cost me $20, come home $40. I'm $60 down, but I have the convenience of doing it myself, which is what you're talking about. You probably couldn't stand using other. Yeah,
I can tell you that my no. I mean, it's funny. My brother wants to first user of the I think he calls it the robo van, right? So basically, what he wants is a self-driving van that functions as a fantastic office, maybe a little cot he can sleep in, and he then have meetings with people and not rent an apartment anymore. In fact, just sleep in the thing, go around and loiter around the city in his robo van, and then come out here on the weekends and exactly never drive. And it's if you listen to things that projections that Elon Musk has made with respect to Optimus, self-driving cars, the AI, it's a really weird discussion because for a couple of reasons. One is that what he's talking about is a workless world, right? And the reason why that would be, and I did the math, by the way, once to just say this, like, let's say you take a projection, whether it's 2030 or 2035, Keith, that's within our lifespan.
Yeah, right? Within our lifetime. Let's say
a billion. Yeah. Okay. So imagine 1 billion autonomous Android bots, and assume for the moment that all of those robots are very well skilled at two main things. One is keeping the peace, so they operate as very good police officers, and two, as medics, as like, emergency ambulance support, life support, whatever. If you put 1 billion of those into the world and you distributed them based on population, and now let's just look at Toronto, right? What would that do to the ratio of number of police to citizens versus or number of medics to citizens? And the answer is that you would end up with about 1 robot per 200 citizens in both cases, where the current numbers in Toronto is roughly 1 cop to every 500 citizens and 1 medic to every, I think it's 2,000 to 3,000 citizens. So shocking. Just that shocking. Alone, right? When you look at the numbers from that perspective, that tells you that he's not crazy. He's not talking. And then beyond that, what is he talking about? We're talking about, a whole bunch of compounding factors. So the AI gets better, the robotics get better. You get the robots building the robots, right? So these things have all compounding factors, and that's why he refers to it as a sort of tsunami of technology. And you're going to get to the point where he predicts, whether he's right about this or not, that they're to run out of human needs to fulfill. In other words, the robots, once they're done putting us out of jobs, are going to then put each other themselves out of jobs. So at the end of the day, it does certainly, if any of that is true, then it certainly bodes well for pursuing what you love. If you like an art form, if you're passionate about business, if you're passionate about it, you might as well pursue it and assume that we're going to end up with all really easy to use tools to get that.
Does
done.
that lead perfectly to the discussion?
Does that lead on all of that?
does that lead perfectly to the discussion about the UBI? Because Canada's pretty advanced in that discussion, aren't they? The universal basic income.
Well, I'll tell you something. That's the big outstanding. I think that's a really big question, right? The governance of all of this. I think globally, our systems of governance also clearly need an update, because our current bureaucratic systems clearly can't keep up with the technology. Have to, right? Because there are major implications when we're talking about biological technologies. The fact that currently that somebody could go and buy a CRISPR machine and try to invent the first glow-in-the-dark dog in their garage is a little scary to me. So it's a very good question, Keith. I can tell you that I definitely want that I think we need to be thoughtful about how do we govern these technologies and how do we make decisions that do that. I want that power to be certainly in the citizens' hands. I'm not so sure about politicians, but that's my take on that. I mean, we shouldn't go too deep there.
Let's if you're there, Bez, you missed a whole chunk of really good stuff. You really missed it.
And I was listening.
I called you out on it a few times. But what I'd really love to know, we'll pick it up here. Would you rather drive your own car, make your own stuff, or would you rather get an Uber and have a fee for service model? This is a very good question as it relates to tech. I will not drive into the city under any circumstances because it's very heavy traffic and it's hard to park. And I would rather get an Uber, even if it costs more, because the convenience of going into the city and someone else driving through all that traffic makes it worth it. But some people say, you know what, I want to drive. I want to be in charge of where I drive, of what I make, what I cook. And I'll start with the driving because I think it's a good example as it relates to AI. Would you rather drive or would you rather get an Uber? And then we can take it back to the AI model from there. What do you think?
I would rather drive.
Because you live in the country.
That's my take. I would rather drive. Yeah.
Because you live in the country. Is it based?
Yeah, I live there. Yeah.
All right. And let's pick
Is
that
it based
up.
on
Let's pick up on that.
what?
Is it based on the fact that it costs too much to get an Uber, or you love driving?
Well, I'm able and capable, and I like to drive. But the reality up here, we don't really have an Uber service. We have somebody that I'll just give you an example. His friend and family rates. He has a really nice SUV, and he actually has a legitimate car service he's insured and bonded up here. Remember, no Ubers up here, not the official. But he charges $250 just to get 4 hours of his time, and that's for his friends and family rate. I don't know what his normal rate is, but
So it's a couple
you got him for 4 hours. But that's the only thing. Other than that, there's really no Ubers where I live because it's only I haven't seen any, not legitimate ones.
Yeah, okay, so it might not be
that claim they are.
Might not be a legitimate discussion, but the reason I'm saying it in that context is that Julian gave me a very complicated process of building my own tech, and I can tell you for sure I don't want to. Right? And so I use the analogy of living in a city, 5 million people, going to the city, driving to the city is murder. Parking is really expensive. I'm not doing it. Right? And there's Ubers everywhere. I could call an Uber now and be here in 4 minutes. Right? I know that because we've done it. It'll be here in 4 minutes. It tells you exactly what the car is, what the guy's name is, the number plate, how much it's going to cost. You pay in advance, you get in the car and you go. That's the life I want. I want to get to the city, but I don't want to
Okay.
drive. Yeah. So with that in mind, in the context of AI, do you want to build your own tech, or do you want to have it built for you, or would you pay a monthly fee for having it already ready? Or would you pay a person to do
Well,
it?
that's a great question. Well, that's a great question. It depends. Like if I'm doing certain things for myself, I don't mind building it. But like, let's say, I need a certain software with a certain, peace of mind, reliability, and, yeah, I'm gonna go use, a legitimate or a well-known vendor, like, whatever it may be, right? That actually works and has a real team behind it. So it just all depends on the task or what I'm doing, but I wouldn't mind building something simple for myself that whether it worked or not wouldn't have any big consequences other than me trying to figure out what's the problem and fixing
So
it.
you don't mind.
Yeah.
You don't mind the idea of
Mhm.
building something yourself.
No, because I'm sort of
Okay.
doing that right now, and it's the first time I've ever, as a non-programmer, been able to vibe code something simple just because I'm a domain expert, right? And as I talk to the AI, but I do know the difference, Keith. I totally get where you're coming from. I know the difference between something for myself and something that other people are going to use, right? And so you have to be cognizant about that, and because
Julian, I stand corrected. There's at least one person in the world that wants to build it himself. So let's continue. Was that process very helpful for you, Bez, to see that piece of tech being built live in front of us?
Yeah, I mean, I've you know, where I'm walking through a problem, and I'm asking the LLM to, hey, what are some options here, and they'll recommend like 4 options, and then I'll say, well, which one? Stack and rank them. They'll stack and rank them. Then they'll give their recommendation, and actually, with the same recommendation that I wanted to go with. And so the AI asked me, this was, maybe half a year ago, a year ago. AI asked me, would you like to see a demo? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And that was like, oh my goodness, I just vibe coded something, just by speaking to it. And so that led me down a path. So, I'm just learning whenever I have time. So I'm tinkering,
Julian,
right, in my spare time.
Julian would be a very, very, very good guest for your AI summit, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. I believe I sent you a link so we can get on the Zoom one day soon.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that.
From there, I can explain
that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, did we lose him? Oh no, is he here? Disappeared. But yeah, that would be fun. So no, thank you, Keith, for putting us together. I did. We're gonna connect and we're gonna talk. I'm a presenter for the AI Mastery Lab, and
yeah, that's what it's called, the AI
cool.
Mastery Lab. It's very fascinating to me because, and as a slight aside, America and I had a really great discussion. I think this is actually a good segue. America and I had a really great discussion about, my fascination with sound. And I think people in general fall into loosely 3 categories. I'm super lazy. I don't want to do anything. Right. And there's other people that want to do everything. Right? And there's people in the middle that say, look, I don't mind having a go if I've got time, but I'm wise enough to ship it out if I can't. And we're all different like that. But in regards to podcasting and the idea of live audio, which we're doing here, I said to America, and this is a very good segue into what we're talking about. I said, there's basically 3 types of content in the audio format. One, people just do it because it's their home and they do it on their laptop and it sounds terrible, but they don't care because they're just talking to their friends. And it has very little professionality about it. But it doesn't have to. because they're just talking to people on their phone, and the amount of people making content on their phone just astonishes me. And this is a very big cohort. They don't want to spend any money and they don't want to learn any skills. They just want to talk on their phone and have chats with their friends, right? That's a very strong cohort. And people have made big money out of that with, very simple tools. Where I hang out, where Americo and I hang out is, you know what? I want to be better. I want my show to sound like the radio. I want my show to look like TV. I'm not there yet, but that's where I'm going. That's where we hang out, in the middle. And then there are people at the top that go, well, I did it. My show is on TV. It does sound like the radio. In fact, I'm on the radio, right? There's basically three groups of people. And I think if you took creativity in all of its facets, they'd all fit somewhat in that group. And Americo, it's a pity he's not here to talk about this, but Americo hangs out in that middle group. And we were saying that if you don't have some commitment to the process, I don't know if you're ever going to get anywhere. And it won't be, it'll only ever be a hobby or an aspiring idea. And I think this is a good conversation to have, because you have to have a bit of skin in the game. Like, you can't just turn up when you think about it and talk to people when there's nothing on TV and think they're going to make a show out of it. What do you think, Julian? Am I a bit sort of robust there, or do you come across shows that you think, wow, that could have been an email? That's terrible. I'm not listening to that. You ever come across shows that are just so bad you wonder why they bothered?
Oh, for sure. Well, for sure. But of course, that's the thing about the sort of abundance of finding your audience. Something that seems sort of boring and unlistenable to me might be very interesting to somebody else. And
yeah,
I think there's a way to look at this. I think from that brings everything together that we're talking about. Which is that. Whether you make it 3 categories or 4 categories of people, whatever it might be, you're right that no matter what craft or art form or enterprise that you engage in, you're going to, first of all, when you start, you're going to start at the bottom. You are going to fail. Failure is a big part of that learning curve. Anybody will tell you who's become an expert that the learning curve can be quite steep, but it can also progress very quickly. So whether we're talking about software development earlier and do you want to drive or not, we're actually 3 people. We're now 4, but we're 3 people that represent different levels. In other words, Keith, something like Studio J has absolutely, it's you're not interested in it at all. For Bez, he certainly maybe not be at a point right now where he platform itself, he couldn't reproduce Studio J. But if I were to install it on a folder on his domain, on his website, he could probably use it. And so I think it's a fair point to say, look, everybody's going to come in at different levels. And we were talking yesterday about AI usage. The fact that Bez could and has already done a little bit of vibe coding actually says that he is in a very small percentile actually at the top when it comes to AI usage. You're absolutely right, Keith, that you're the majority who basically just want the tools to be usable and effective. So it's the same thing then going back to what you're talking about in terms of audio and podcasting and producing a show and those different sort of levels that Americo serves, right? Exact same thing, right? That your very first show is going to have all kinds of errors and technical problems, and your audience is going to be small. And in some ways, that's the advantage. It's a good thing that you don't start with an audience of 1 million people. So I've always been a big fan of baby steps. I've always advocated for people, one, not to compare themselves to anybody other than their own personal progress. as you point out, Keith, you know, the audio, the sound, the quality, that's where your focus is. So let that be your focus, and you will undoubtedly, because you have that mindset, that attitude, that approach of saying, I want to be better here. Then, you know, the answer, that's the wonderful thing about modern technology, is that we all have at our fingertips with AI basically a professor in our pocket
Yeah.
that we can consult and say, hey, professor, how would I do this? What would be
Yeah,
a good
up to
strategy?
Google.
How should I approach this? I want to be, how can I do it? And we all have that now. It's great.
I love what you're saying, because I don't know if you know this, and I think I've told Bez this. When I did radio school when I was 18, and a guy maybe in his 50s sat me down, he says, Keith, you're not very good. You know, you're wasting your money and my time. Don't come back. True story. This actually happened. And I said, well, I want to do this. He says, well, you're no good. You're never going to get a job. Just you're wasting your time. And more importantly, you're wasting my time. So don't come back. And I was 18. I mean, it cut me in half. I'm not even sure I even ever recovered from that. But we live in a world now where you say, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing a radio show in the back of my house, and I have people listening in 34 states of America. What do you say about that, you bastard? You know, and so we now live in a world where we can do what we want to do, and we don't have to have this big brother saying, look, you're not very good. You know, this is not what we want. Well, who's to say this is not what we want? I want to do it. I'm sure there's an audience for this, and there is. And so, as you said, even though I might not like certain topics, there would be people in the world that are saying, mate, I'm into this. Oh, mate, I'm so into this. I'm so thankful that you're doing this for me. There's no one in my town doing this. And I think that's the place we're in. It's glorious. Even if you just want to talk into your laptop or talk into the phone in the car park, you know, someone out there wants to hear what you have to say, and they wouldn't have got it 20 years ago because some old guy in the studio said, you can't do it. And I was there. Cut me in half, Julian. I don't know if I've told you this story, but it cut me in half. I was 18. Like, I was right there. I was really in the prime going for it, and he just cut my head off. Bloody horrible.
Oh yeah, like I bet, you know, when you're young, it's hard, you know, that you were the right away, that what came to mind was my very first interview at an ad agency. And one of the questions that they first asked me was, can you think of an ad that you see on TV that you like? And I think I said an ad for, you know, some like Sudafed, some nasal congestion ad or something like that. And they asked me what I liked about it. And then they asked me, who was it for? And I didn't remember. I couldn't tell. I forgot. And it's a sort of instructive, moment where I realized, because in fact, exactly that, I had zero training. My degree in university was psychology. I had absolutely zero education in marketing and advertising. And it was sort of a filter question. And I think that it was a fine interview in the sense that it was educational for me, and I realized where I needed to maybe place my focus more. All of these things end up learning experiences, right? And that's part of early formation. You get knocked down. I could tell you a few ones. Though the worst was, I was in my 20s and I worked for Ben and Jerry's ice cream and had a new van. And on day one, I tried to drive it into a parking lot that was too short, and I practically took the roof off of this thing. And that was like my third day on the job, I think.
Oh man, we've got.
So we all have these horror stories, no doubt.
What about you, Bez? Do you have a? What about you, Bez? Do you have these stories from your history? And more importantly, I think what I'm trying to get at here is that we now live in a world where if we want to do something, we can. And I'll throw back to that band you were talking about, Julian. To me, that was horrible. Like, to me, I don't like them at all. I'm just telling you, I just don't like them at all. But they sound to me like Rush with polka dots. So you might like them, Bez. This drummer and this guy, this is a really cool story. A guy playing a guitar with a guitar head and a bass head on the same, a double-headed guitar. No singer. no rhythm section, just drum and guitar. I didn't get it, Julian. But the point is, we live in a world where that is possible now, and they are popular, really popular, aren't they, Julian? Like 2 million views. So there's
no, we've talked about this before. We've been talking about this really since you and I met in whether it was 2018 or 19. I'll use another. There's one example that I've been using for years, right? Which is this: like somebody who, let's say, has a little niche hobby, like they crochet socks, with funky little designs, Well, there's no way in 50 years ago, 20 years ago, somebody like that could likely go door to door with their crocheted socks, given the time that it would take to actually make your crocheted socks, right? And try to sell those to people. But precisely what you're saying, that's one of the most fantastic things about the internet since its invention, really, was that the fact that people from around the world can connect with people with common interests. You never know. Yeah, like no doubt, there are all kinds of. I love those. Those little, I guess you'd call them little, like cult type, cliquey groups where they all know the language, the symbols, the signs. Like they all share the cards or whatever. Like Trekkies, Pokemon, whatever it is. We're people clearly long for groups that kind of unite them around whatever.
Let's have a chat about this with Jason.
Warhammer's one.
Jason this is an amazing story, Julian. I don't know if you know this story. I've been following Jason for a long time. Jason has made a living and actually makes more money than his day job as an influencer for dogs. I'm going to let him tell that story. But don't you think it's lovely, Jason, that here we are in 2026 and you can make a living hanging out with your dogs because other people in the world love seeing pictures of your dogs? Don't you think that's just a glorious moment in history that you can even consider making a living from that?
Yeah, I think if somebody asked me 9 years ago if we'd be where we are with our dog stuff, I would not believe them. I would not believe them at all.
Can you just tell Julian what you're doing? You may not know Jason, Julian, but he's making a living as an influencer in the pet world. It's just a glorious story. Social media 101. You want to tell us the sort of the skinny on that?
Yeah, real quick. The profile picture I have is Bunsen. He's our Bernese Mountain Dog. And, excuse me. Sorry. We put, I'm a scientist, and I put my lab coat on him. And he's so big, my lab coat fits him. And I took a picture of him being goofy in the lab coat, and that kind of went viral. And that started our social media accounts where we use the dogs and cute stuff that they do to also help teach science and facts and things like that. And it's kind of like snowballed with every dog that we keep adding to the crew, that we now have like really large social media accounts, which still blows my mind. I did a count the other day, and across all of our platforms, we've well past 1 million followers, which is just insane. And it's been a slow process, but I found ways to use that to get some money from it. And it's built up quite a bit over the years. So I guess that's the skinny, Keith.
Oh, it's amazing because the reason, I don't know if you were on the call yesterday, but Julian and I did a gig in 2019 about this. Like we were talking about this stuff. And Julian went to Jamaica. I did it online. And we were talking to some business owners in Jamaica about the use of social media. This is 2019. Like I didn't even know what was around then and what TikTok wasn't invented then, I don't think. And a lot of these business owners were very, very, very skeptical. Was that true, Julian? Did you have a lot of kickback from businesses about social media being a legitimate marketing strategy? And do you still have that problem?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think around that point in time, Facebook advertising was a fairly big topic, but there was a huge amount of resistance for a long period of time leading up to that. And then once it kind of actually became very, effective and good, it became even more and more difficult to succeed with advertising on Facebook. So these things have sort of ebbed and flowed, and people have had resistance. People always have resistance all along the way for these things, and then it changes the lances. But for sure, it was hit and miss. Like I said, there were some people who were resistant, and then there's always people who are just absolutely curious about what's the next thing. And some people love to be on the cutting edge. Some people like to kind of follow the mob. Some people never join the game, I guess. I don't know. It depends. There you go. There's the chart.
Where would you put yourself here, Julian? Would you be an early adopter, would you think? Or maybe even an innovator? You're making stuff.
Yeah, I love to be on the cutting edge. Like it's both frustrating and difficult, but it's on one level but on the other hand, it's fun and it's exciting, and it drives me to say, hey, what are other people doing? What's the latest thing?
It is fun, isn't it?
I've had the real good people with sort of a similar work to see once, where it was very friendly, very like we used to go out for beers after work, kind of a thing. But if you went to somebody and said, hey, how do I do this? There's a good chance, or you sent them an email, can you help me with this or whatever? You'd get this link and say, oh, this will help you with it. And in fact, that link was go fucking Google it. Pardon my language. And so you'd land on that website, and it was like, figure it out for yourself. And it was a very sort of like tight ship, but it worked, but everybody loved it because of that, right? So in other words, if there was a handoff, right, a designer and a coder, and it wasn't cut properly, because in those days you had to cut designs, then it would be, hey, you didn't finish your job properly. And so I like that pressure. But that doesn't mean that it's for everybody.
Oh, you like the camaraderie of it. Yeah, this is good.
I love collaboration. I love it when driven people with exceptional diverse skill come together, because so often then the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. You might have been able to take it somewhere on your own, but sometimes it's fun when you have people who are, and like I said, I've been lucky. I've worked with some really talented motion designers, web programmers, videographer, like people who've made TV commercials, that kind of thing. So I've had a very fortunate and fun and exciting and a roller coaster type of career in it.
I love it. Do you have Netflix? Do you have Netflix, Julian?
Yes. At the moment, I don't. At the moment, I think we canceled that fairly. We go as these things sort of, I get them and then I get them all. I cancel them. We've got Prime at the moment.
Okay.
We like Clarkson's Farm.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you ever watch Clarkson's Farm. I don't watch much TV, I have to admit. That's one.
What do you do at night?
Streaming
you're busy.
Technology.
Well, the reason I'm asking,
I'm busy. I love. And by the way, Jason, the fact that Jason's here, because this is, I at the same time, it sounds like I'm always, tech, but in fact, I as I moved out of Toronto, the big city, to a rural area in Cobourg, Ontario, and I quite enjoy also maintaining the property and having self-reliance, not as I talk about on the internet, but actually in terms of my living.
Ah,
So
yeah, you're
my water
embodying
comes
the
from,
whole. You're
my
embodying
water
some-
comes from our own well.
You are definitely embodying the whole.
Yeah, off-grid living.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know, I recently said that what's the word? I'll talk about this in a minute. But the reason I mention this is there's a very cool show that I think you might like for two reasons. The show is called Zoe's Amazing Playlist, and it's about a coder whose job is to code, but she hears these funky songs at weird times. So it's like a musical. So given that you've got a love of music, she might be halfway through a coder and her coworker comes up and says, I love you. I love you. I honestly love you. And then they go into that song. Right. And it's really quite playful.
So by the way, you know, a musician has come here now twice, and we composed together and we wrote a song. And this is where Jason comes in, because we wrote a song called Be More Dog.
Oh, wow.
And it's certainly, I think it's a fantastic life philosophy. I love the way dogs live and think. I have an Aussie Shepherd here who's living his best life because he's got a great space to run around in, and they do love exercise. And he's so smart, Jason. Like, I mean, this dog, you know, if you've got training advice, I check that kind of stuff out all the time, because like I said, he's a dog that needs to be intellectually challenged. He's fantastic. So I'm a big dog fan. No question about that.
Jason, you would never have guessed that he's another person on the other side of Canada living on a farm. Coming on my show. It's bloody brilliant, isn't it?
It's a small world. And yeah, Australian Shepherds are really amazing dogs. They're adorable, and they've got a brain like a computer. They're definitely more active than the two burners we have. They're kind of couch potatoes until it's time to do some things. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, look, we've been going about 3 hours. I wonder whether we might wrap it up and give everyone a turn to tell everyone else how they can find them. Hopefully, Julian and Jason will connect. Julian and Bez have already connected. I'll start with you, Bez, because you're sort of sitting there on the bottom. What were the main points that you got from this, and what can we do now to help you get your content out? Because you're struggling with it, and I've tried really desperately to connect you with people that can help you. What can we do? What do you need? I'm going to let that sit. I'm just going to let that sit. There it is. I threw to you. Okay, Julian, there it was. I did that on purpose. I threw to him. There's nothing there.
Oh, he's not there. Okay.
So what can we do for you, Julian? You've been so wonderful today. What's the next step for you? What do you need? What can we do? I'm sure you're pretty self-sufficient, but what can we do to help you push this up the line?
Oh, you've already done so much. I love joining you on your show. In fact, what we have achieved already for me today through this show was an example, an attempt at doing that coding live. I would say it went fairly well as a test. So I'm actually really excited that we got to do that. We did that on your show. You can always check out, if you're interested in Studio J, the platform itself, whether you're a developer or a business owner who likes to tinker around on your own and build your own modules, create your own workflow. You can go to studioj.app. That's studio-j.app. And I have just started the White Robot community. So that's white-robot.com. And that's certainly more of a, that's
so it's
where
like
I
a
say
white labeling robot.
Developers wanted dreamers. Yeah, it's an attempt to build developers who will get in early and start contributing to that module marketplace that is eventually emerging, mostly on
Wow.
my own effort. Yeah, you're seeing how it all fits together, eh? You see the whole strategy coming together. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if you're really interested in the lifestyle stuff, then you can always go to offgriddy.ca. But
Yeah.
certainly from a business perspective, from all the stuff that we talked about today, and the module that we built, and if you want to build modules yourself, or if you want me to come and build modules on your website, then either come to studio-j.app or white-robot.com.
And you mentioned yesterday that the building that you currently own was the property of someone else who's quite famous there. Do you want to pick up on that story again?
Yeah, so that was really serendipitous because I had this idea for an online lifestyle magazine about this sort of move to off-grid life, lifestyle. That was mixed in my version of it, right? Which is I call it sometimes Amish with tech. And so I had this idea for this online magazine, and sure enough, it turns out that a fairly well-known sort of home and garden magazine called Harrowsmith Magazine, I believe is what it was called, and the last name of the author, the guy who kind of created it, wrote most of the articles and editing, was I believe his name was Crookshank, and I believe he still might even live in this area. But it was a very successful magazine. I'm actually in the summer in the little cabin, which was, I believe, his office. So for some reason, this property inspires a sort of lifestyle magazine type format. But that's a hobby project. I love it. I enjoy it. And that journey continues. Next spring is when I get my flow hive. I want to get some bees and get my own honey. I have a whole bunch of mushroom beds planted this year, and we have a bunch of raised beds for
Wow.
all of our vegetables. Most of my food comes from within a block radius at this point in time. It's great. I love it.
And what about you, Jason? Do you do that with your dogs? I'm guessing you live on a farm. You've got plenty of space. Are you a bit sustainable there in Red Deer? Do you do a bit of what Julian's talking about?
We probably could. I'm so busy though. The time that you would need to take to tend to a really nice garden is time I could just get some cucumbers from the grocery store. So
I get you. I get you. Look, I get you.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but I don't, I understand why people would get enjoyment out of that. And there's something to be said for this, obviously the sustainability of consuming the nutrients in a arc around you, that we would starve to death in the winter because it's so cold. There's nothing that grows around us in the winter here.
Oh, it's definitely a dedication. We get a basket of goods every Tuesday, and my wife loves growing food, and we go to the hardware shop or this big supermarket of tech or hardware things, and I said, look, you're paying $2 there for the broccoli. Why don't we just buy broccoli? Yeah, but I love planting it, and I love putting my feet on the ground, and I love the joy of it working and maybe not working. And the thing of thinking, I grew that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
That's cool. That is very cool. Yep.
And Jason, and what Jason's talking about applies to me too, right? For sure, in the winter, and any of those sort of tropical type fruits, or lemons or whatever, it's at least coming from California. It's not grown in Canada because he's right. We just don't have the season for it. You can get a greenhouse going, and maybe one day that would be nice, but one step at a time.
Very, very cool. My gut feeling is Bez is not there, but if you are, I'm happy for you to jump in and tell us what you're doing.
I'm here.
Okay, so
I'm listening.
You given that you're actually quite a ways away from Georgia, do you have a bit of a plot? Do you have a big backyard where you grow your own veggies, or you just can't be bothered doing that? You're too busy? not your thing?
Well, the problem I have is too much shade because
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
live between two national forests. Yeah. So I would have to cut down some trees and, try. I actually need like about 4 trees removed, like big ones, that they're too close to the house. But it cost about 2 to 3 grand to
I
remove
know.
each tree. It's
I know.
like expensive.
It's
So
very expensive. Yeah,
yeah,
I get you. Well, look, we've covered a lot of ground.
but
We've almost got to midnight, Julian. As I said, if there's anyone there that wants some last thoughts, please put them in the comments. But it's nearly 2:00, or 1:30 here. I'm getting a bit hungry. My body is crying out for some
go
nourishment.
ahead.
What I'll do is I'll play the theme song for this series. We've actually done 5 shows in a row. Those replays are on YouTube. I will get the transcript to everyone today if you want to do something with it. And just to keep you in the loop, this is what Americo did yesterday, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very excited about what he did. We did a show, he did a graphic. It was as simple as that. So I'll send you the transcript, and please, if you're listening in, let me know. I'll send it to you too. I can send it as a PDF. You can make something of it. In July, I'm having the month of July off because I really, really, really want to get my head around Substack Studio. So I'm having a complete month off from the live show. So it is pretty exhausting. And I'm going to go deep, deep, deep into Substack Studio. And I'm going to come back in August with a show, hopefully with the wisdom of 1 month of rest. And I'll pick it up again. So this show, this series has been called Repurpose 3030. The lyrics were written with Perplexity. The music was written by Suno. I just pushed a button. I'm not that clever. This is not my song. I just use tech to do almost everything now. And let's see what this, whether this one actually resonates.
Repurpose 3030. Every channel, every screen. From a moment to a movement. Make your content evergreen. Yeah. Got a post from last year still hitting like gold. Buried in the feed, but the story's still bold. Turn it to a video, spin it to a show. Say my D a new life, watch it overflow. Why start over when you already know there's a spark in the archive ready to glow? Repurpose 3030. Every channel, every screen. From a moment to a movement. Make your content evergreen. Blog to a podcast, click to a reel. Different kind of magic, but it's all the same feel. Scrolling different platforms, reaching new eyes. Same core message, just a new disguise. You don't need new when the old still shines. Just reshape the signal, multiply the lines. Repurpose 3030. Every channel, every screen. From a moment to a movement. Make your content evergreen. Hey, 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 hey. 30 days, let it amplify. Take one spark, let it multiply. See your dreams in the midnight glow. Watch your whole world start to grow. Different voices, same heartbeat, different channels, one repeat. You're not starting from zero again. You're just playing.
That's good, eh, Keith?
My friend. Repurpose 3030. Every channel,
Real good
every
content in there.
screen.